That's all I got for personal news. Let's blast off. We got a lot happening. Trump's got some bruising that a lot of people are talking about. We don't know what that's about. We'll obviously talk about that. Trump's got some bruises. Epstein saga continues as admin fires Epstein prosecutor. What else was I gonna say? Valkyrie squashed the Fear and beef online about it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Damn, they're popping off, dude. What the hell? One day, 114,000 views. God damn. Cutie meets Ray's dead dad. Okay, hold on. Let me blast off real quick because we got some shit to talk about. Okay. Trump's got some bruises. Epstein saga continued as admin fires Epstein prosecutor. Zoran in DC meets with top Dems and more. I am taking a long weekend tomorrow. Get in now. Dude, I realized that like I get shitted on so much like nonstop that I forgot that I stream literally every day. It's kind of crazy. I have not taken hold on. You're taking a break this weekend and you know some shit's gonna go down. I know everyone's freaking out about it, but let's not do that. Also, where is the do we have a blast off meme, chat? Do we have a blast off meme? Did you see the CEO that got caught cheating in a Coldplay concert? Yeah. You know, word of advice: if you're gonna cheat on your wife, don't do it at a Coldplay concert. Apparently, your YouTube viewership is kind of crazy. Is it? I've not been paying attention at all. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't. If you're gonna cheat on your wife, just don't do it. That's my advice. Word of advice: if you're gonna cheat on your wife, don't do it. Okay, but if you're gonna do it, don't do it in public. And if you're gonna do it in public, don't do it at a Coldplay concert. Okay, you will get got. Okay, here it is. Here's the blast off meme. We got a bunch of good memes that you guys sent me as a blast off meme, but we're just gonna use this one right now. Yeah. Alrighty. You're on Spotify now. It's good to listen to the car. I think I've always been on Spotify. I feel like I've been. Wow, the timing taking the 3-day off during Jaccara. Yeah, that's what it is. Honestly, that's what it is. Hassan Piker, I know what you are. Hashtag Jaccara, hashtag heels. Yeah, I'm taking 3 days off so I can watch the Jaccara streams. Yeah, that's so dumb. But yeah, I like that this is news. Like, it's newsworthy. Streamer Hassan Piker announced he'll be taking a 3-day break on Friday. This would be his longest break from streaming without a ban since June 11th, 2018. Hassan Piker has not taken a willing 3-day vacation from streaming in 2,593 days. Previous week-long breaks were due to bans over commentary on 9/11 and white slurs. Isn't that nuts? And the rest are either because I'm doing someone else's stream or I'm traveling so I can stream somewhere else. Like, that's pretty crazy. Bro, I'm worried you won't come back, not gonna lie. You might have a problem. Yeah, my problem is I fucking love what I love my job. I love what I do. That's my problem. New method of watching your broadcast just dropped. Oh, I saw this.
Which government that is? They're not talking about Zimbabwe. Fucking Israel, dog. That's what they're talking about. Okay?
I saw this. I love this. I don't even know what this is. I don't even understand what this is, but I love it. This is the best possible way to watch me.
Foreign government, which is, of course, we all know which government that is. They're not talking about Zimbabwe, okay? They're talking about fucking Israel, dog. That's what they're talking about, okay?
Tech skills for advanced shitposting. Why do you stream so much? You're hot and rich and you travel and women like you get off the internet. Because I love what I do and I have a deep sense of, I have a deep responsibility, like a sense of responsibility with my job. And I feel like the way I see myself, maybe people, don't, maybe people like get mad at me for saying this. Maybe people think like I'm too full of myself, but like I see myself having a huge responsibility. Okay. A responsibility to educate people, to tell people what's going on. Like it's like if fucking, you know, for your parents, if like CNN decided not to go live one day, you know, Like for a certain demographic, especially people under the age of like 35, I am their primary source of news, and I try to do comprehensive coverage across the board. And I still try to do like other things as well on top of that to make it more interesting for myself, but that still serves the secondary purpose of like of gaining of like doing collaborations and doing fun stuff that like brings in a different audience every now and then, so that audience is more receptive and more charitable to what I have to say when I have a more impactful moment, when I'm doing regular news coverage and commentary, things of that nature. But that's part of the reason why I what is this? My top 5 Turkish snacks. That's part of the reason why I don't actually ever stop. And it's also because I love what I do. I love what I do. I think what I do is important. Why the views are so down? We just started. That's probably the reason. Or because I'm washed, because I'm done. Or because people literally thought I was taking a break. It could be why, because that tweet went viral. But hey, you worry about you, I worry about me, big dog. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I've fallen off. I'm done. You ever react to speed in Turkey? No. What is this? My top favorite Turkish snacks: baklava. Fair. Facts. Donut kebab. Okay, very good. Dolma. I wouldn't put dolma at 3. I put donut probably higher than dolma. Köfte is pretty good. Okay, still put donut higher than that. Okay, I see what's going on here. All right, okay. Well, I see a thirst talk, I repost. You know what I mean? That's just how it goes. That's how it goes. Wouldn't put myself at number 1. I think baklava is probably better, but it's all good. Mumdani is gonna lose. What is this? Oh, Curtis Sliwa. Yeah, he's the GOAT. Flashing pit at the DNC is crazy. No, it's not. Baklava's Greek, dude. Everybody stop with this fucking Turkophobia. This is anti-Turk slander, bro. Chill. Don't even fucking play with me. Don't even. Trump has DVT. Okay, let's get started with that. Okay, this is the top news story of the day. But first, we're gonna look at that. We're gonna look at what is going on with Donald Trump. Is it Goongate? Is it actually because he's fucking gooning too hard? We'll look at that. But before, what is this?
Don't sniff it. Hassan, do not sniff that sticker after scratching the feet part of the young-looking anime cat girl. Do not sniff.
What do you mean?
Wait.
What do you mean? That it said scratch and sniff. It's not my fault. It's not my fault, dude. What the hell? I got fired from my job, but it's okay because I'm working on an Anime Expo video now to cope. Woohoo. Show the wine about a beef coming to a close, coward. Sure.
Yeah, speaking of busy, you've been filming for Furian, and I just want to say I saw the clip of you talking.
I like that the world keeps turning and the certainties are still here. No matter who Cutie's co-host is on Wine About It, there's still fucking fear and drama. Okay? Thank God. The world keeps spinning. Okay? Every episode, there's gonna be some fear and drama. Did you see Harry Sasson said you hated him on the Adam Friedland, formerly Cumtown show? That's crazy. I do not hate Harry Sasson at all. I actually love Harry Sasson. I have defended him for fucking, okay? That is crazy. I was one of the few people who literally looked at the situation. I was like, I don't agree with what Harry Sasson does, but when Republican adults were like, this 22-year-old fucks, and I think we should not allow that to happen. I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I was literally one of the only fucking people on the left that was like, he's a 22-year-old, and it seems like all of this is above board. Like, I don't agree with him because he's a liberal. Okay, but I still enjoy his content. Like, I enjoy his presence. We've been on stuff together. That's sad. He said you hated him for being a centrist and then went on to be a total centrist. But yeah, I don't think you hate him. I don't hate him. I just wish he wasn't a centrist. Yeah, I just wish he wasn't a fucking. I just wish he wasn't such a annoying lib.
Talking about how I could buy you out for it.
Oh,
But I wanted to
crazy.
say, yeah, no, I can't buy you out for that.
I don't blame you.
I'm squashing the
Do you
beef right
understand?
here and
She's
now.
squashing the beef.
You
with Farron.
actually, I forget that
They
you're
pay me.
you're straight up an owner of that. You're all a co-owner of that. You make so much money from that.
Hey, I
It's
haven't
paying
signed
the
any papers.
bills. You haven't?
Yeah. I'm coming at you, Farron. No, I actually
No.
wouldn't want it on paper because it's like if it dissolves one day, then I have to sign way more. But it's like not where if one of them freaking is like, who knows? Maybe Will is embezzling all the money, and then we have to like take him to court. Like, I'm not interested. Like, whatever, just pay me my
That's
my cut. You know what I'm
crazy.
saying? Like,
But yeah, no, some people thought I was actually serious about like taking you away from that. And I just want to set it clear. Love, fear, and I think you
I don't.
honestly, yes, you do. Deep down, confess.
I'm not saying shit. No, screw them.
Oh my God. She wants to, you know what it is? Being a hot girl revolves around like hating men. Okay? That's what it is. I think that's what it is. That's like, so she has to like, she's on her hot girl shit. And that's why she's like, oh, I hate men and I hate my male podcast. Like it's so icky. Like that's what it is. Like she's just faking it. She's just playing hard to get. It's cool. Yeah. Which, she's right. We hate men too at the Fear and Podcast. We are a man-hating podcast. Cutie on our hot girl arc. Oh no, I know. We actually talked about this. There's some meta here. Okay. You'll see on the next episode of the Fear and Podcast when it comes out on Monday. Hot girls get treated worse by men. They're allowed to hate them. True. Y'all got a 50% women audience. She on her hating man shit. She's a fake demon. I know. We have a larger female audience than she does on Wine About It, which is hilarious. Will Neff, I don't know her. What the fuck? I know she hates us. Dude, talk about the thong. Dude, I did in the beginning. I did. Cutie walks into the house with Maya, okay? And she's got a thong and it's like pulled up like super high. Like she was doing the Tara Yummy thing. And Will and I both went, oh my God, yowza, hamana, awooga, okay? It was so fucking cool. It is so sick. Yeah, Vanilla Mace, Tara Yummy, is a whale tail. Is that what it's called? I feel like that's a weird thing. Whale tail? That's, I don't know. Yeah, it was up to her ears, but it was dope. But I think like us, like paying close attention to it and highlighting it and like being excited about it made her a little bit self-conscious about it. And she just like kind of packed it up a little bit, but it was dope and it's cool. And we want more of it. We want more hot girl shit. It's a look. We like it. We love it. We don't just like it. We love it. So high it looks like a wrestling sling. Yeah. Dudes liking hot chicks. Fuck yeah. Okay, man. You made it a little weird. Okay. Femaganda. I like that. Wait, we made a term so it wouldn't be weird. I know. But Will, okay. Don't leak it. Will, don't leak it. We had a lot of talks about like how, like, what is the appropriate way for straight men like Will and I to be able to like show support to our friends who happen to be women who are on their hot girl arc. And you just have to tune in on Monday to really get a better understanding, because we went through like a comprehensive process, because it's a real issue. It's a real issue when you got like, when you're like a content creator, or just in general, when you're like a straight guy, okay, and you have female friends and they're like doing stuff and you want to show praise towards it, but like there's no way to do that in a way where you don't look like a horny creep, you know? So we were trying to figure out how to do that without coming across like as horny creeps. Don't comment on your friends' bodies. Oh my God. Okay, woke of the day. Calm down. Like we're saying we're trying to we're trying to find a way to support, okay, in a positive affirmations. Well, you are a horny creep. No. But yeah, bro, there's not a girlfriend in the world that wants her boyfriend acknowledging any of the hot girl stuff their friends do. I support by averting my eyes and playing Counter-Strike. Anyway, this is the fear and
I'll get
wine
her on
about
the
a
page.
saga.
Screw them.
It's coming to a
I
close.
think, I think, yeah, no, obviously I'm not going to leave here and I would be stupid. I think a lot of this job that we have, we are so lucky to have it.
Yes.
And we are so lucky to make $1 off of it that I would be stupid to walk away from that paycheck. I will take a buyout if anyone wants to buy me out. But unfortunately, if you look at their Patreon and divide it by 5, I do make a significant chunk of money from them every month. And
you are a part owner. You are not an employee in the traditional sense. What the fuck is happening? These people do not understand what a cooperative is. Okay? Cutie Cinderella fundamentally does not associate with the concept of a cooperative where she has equal say and equal pay. Okay? You make it seem as though this is like a paycheck. Why are you saying this? It is not a paycheck. You are an owner of the podcast. What the fuck? And it's so funny because everybody else understands this. Cutie Cinderella refuses. Cutie Cinderella understands it as well. And any time she comes close to like the recognition, she's like, no, never mind. That's not how it is.
I call that.
You're making bank.
I'm making bank.
Yes, you are.
But I called that is my event fund. That is my Deco fund.
That's what I saw on the clip.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, that is so true.
It's funny. I don't consider my fear and money like my money. I literally
like extra credit for your events.
I separate it. I'm not kidding. The paycheck from that, I put it in a separate bank account and I say to myself, okay, we can do a master baker. Like, okay, we can do this. Cause I don't get sponsors for my events. And so it's just like.
You could though.
Well, I don't know. The industry's, maybe I'm, but.
All right. She's a good class trader. She's the owning class, but across like a worker. What the fuck? How do you make that sound? Very carefully. Okay. That's how I make the sound, big dog. Very carefully. That's how it is. That's how it is. All right. They're calling you the OG Jokera. What is this? Okay, that's great. I'm not clicking. I'm not watching that. You're out of your fucking mind. All right. That's an insane thing to link to me. Okay. Let's move on. I can't believe I read that. All right. We got a lot. Listen, refresh the tweet. Maya stole your reply. No, just don't worry about it. Just don't fucking worry about it. All right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just watch the podcast. Just fucking put the podcast in the bag, little bro. Put the podcast in the bag, little bro, on Monday. Just click play on Monday morning and you will know everything you need to know about what we are doing. Ready yourselves, things that happen, time, 0 days, 3 days, no streaming. If you would please consult the... Yeah, okay. Well, things might be happening. Things might be happening while I'm gone. Okay, I will reveal it. I will reveal something to you. I'm bringing my desktop setup to the bachelor party just as a backup, just as a backup. If there is a necessity, I will stream, but only if something crazy takes place. That's it. Okay? Because I know when I actually... I know when I actually don't fucking what's happening. I'm not seeing it. What is effing? Hello? I'm here. Did it F for you guys? I don't get it. That was Twitch side. That wasn't on my end. That was Twitch. That was a Twitch side issue. That was weird. That is odd that happened. You just frozen, came back 10 seconds later? Interesting. Frozen for like a good 20 seconds? What the fuck? Is unionization feasible within a co-op? Legal associates sell their labor to partners, but likely will become a partner at a later point in their career. Is unionization feasible at a co-op? A cooperative corporation is a higher percentage than a union. What? A cooperative is literally... A cooperative has a higher degree of ownership over the means of production, is a maximum degree of ownership over the means of production than unions do. That's basically the highest level of ownership that a worker can have. What do you mean? Twitch is down? Yeah, Twitch might have issues. A cooperative is when the union owns the entire business, like completely. Look at the freeze clip. I don't need to look at it. It's fine. All right, let's continue. Okay. There's a cafe near me. There's a co-op and unionized. It's so the employees who have been recently hired who aren't yet full owners get the union representation. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, obviously, you can't just like, when you're a cooperative, especially, you can't just like unilaterally decide like, oh yeah, this person is our owner now. Like, it doesn't work that way. In any case, that's all we got. We're gonna start with Donald Trump's health issues, okay? Because this past week has been one filled to the brim with drama. What shirt are you wearing, big dog? This is a merch. It says disaster capitalism. It's the Four Horsemen. You can get it at ideology.shop. Union made, American made. Free shipping over $100 if you order $100 plus merchandise. Yeah. All right. So let's get into it. Donald freaking Trump apparently is in an interesting. There were some photos that there were some photos where people basically zoomed in on like Trump's hand. And, in typical old guy fashion, he has some crazy stuff going on. But also, he had like crazy cankles that people identified at the FIFA event. Okay? His cankles were out of control. Like, I'm not talking on some body shaming. Like, there's a lot of people that have cankles. It's like, there's nothing to be ashamed of, It is what it is. Like, this was like medical condition type shit. Like, it did not look like regular cankles. So it turns out U.S. President Donald Trump diagnosed with vein issue after reporting swollen legs, according to the White House. Yeah, he has two different photos. I don't know if anyone has the photos. One is the cankles thing, and then the other one is his hand. Okay, it was weird. I'm back. That wasn't an internet thing. That was not an internet thing. That was not an internet thing. That was not an internet thing. That was a straight up IRL toolkit issue. Someone also said IRL toolkit was like down. I think IRL toolkit is like cooking right now. It's getting cooked. I don't know what it is. Here's both pics. Thank you. Yeah, I think like Twitch across the board is experiencing issues, and I think it's like an IRL toolkit related problem. And a lot of streamers, myself included, use IRL toolkit to basically service. To basically use as like a external server, like a cloud server that we pump our footage into. So it's not just me. I think it's like a lot of people experiencing the same stuff, same issues. And I think there's also like a Twitch related issue as well. So hopefully it'll be fine. We will continue. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, as I was talking about, Donald Trump's got some health complications. First, there were the swollen ankles of the World Cup. And look, this is not a normal amount of swelling, okay? This is not like regular ass cankle shit. Look at my man's hot dogs pumping out of his shoes. Like, bro, he's wearing those shoes and his ankles are so swollen that they're literally busting out. They're spilling over. They're spilling over his fucking shoes. So when people saw that, they were like, this is crazy, okay? This is actually crazy. What the hell's going on? He's got that like royal disease. You know what I'm talking about? Like, what's his face? The new king, King Charles. Like, have you ever seen his sausage fingers? King Charles sausage fingers? Like, that's what he looks like. Like that, dude. Donald Trump's ankles are giving this, okay? They're giving this. And this is like, I thought this was like exclusive to like the inbreeding, like the maximum amount of inbreeding that like you can't get this as like a normal mutt. You know what I mean? Like you have to get this if you're like purebred, like a designer dog. You know what I mean? This is like centuries of consistent like cousin fucking that cause you to have like this kind of genetic condition. You know what I mean? But it turns out Donald Trump's got that shit on his cankles. So it's not even just like inbreeding. Bro, look at that ring. It's so funny. It's like, dog, this is the first time I've ever seen when I remember like when this photo first came out, I was like, oh my God, like this is a genuine problem. This is the first time someone's real hands look like AI hands. Okay. But you know, this photo was taken before AI was popping off. There was no like image generation AI technology available when this photo was taken. So you know, it's a real photo. It looks like he's artifacting. That's how crazy his hands are. This is King Charles. Motherfucker's got AI fingers, bro, in the real world. Like look at this. This one, does this not even have like nails? What's happening here? Where are the nails on this one? Anyway, why am I showing you King Charles's hands? Because Donald Trump's ankles look like King Charles's hands. I don't know what's happening. Hassan, you're grossing me out, dude. Okay, well, sorry. This is fucking newsworthy. You know, I'm a goddamn newscaster. Do you not want to learn about whether the most powerful person on the planet has got a debilitating medical condition or not? Bad blood circulation caused the ankles to swell like that when sitting in an extended period in geriatric people. I don't know about that, man. Chat, I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like this is beyond just like bad blood circulation. Maybe I'm crazy, but it feels like this is like, would bad blood circulation be this noticeable? Like bad blood circulation related swelling, would it be this much buildup? I don't know. But anyway, he's got these like crazy cankles, so that's like this thing. But then they see this bruised hand today at the press conference. People focus on, wait, what the fuck? Did it F again? But it's not me. It's not me. It's Twitch. It's got to be Twitch. It's not on my end. What the helly? What the helly? That was a Twitch related F, I think. Or maybe it might be IRL Toolkit related. I don't know, but like it's not on my end. Or is it? Anyway. As I was saying, mobile viewer here have not experienced a single F. Nice. It's congestive heart failure. I just experienced it myself, but as a young person, same exact swelling pattern. Okay, so what I was saying, what I was talking about, what we were talking about is like his hands got like crazy bruising too. Okay, his hands got some crazy bruising, and then they just like try to patch it up, and we don't know what the fuck this is, right? We don't know what's going on, but people start paying attention to it. People start posting about it. People start talking about it. So then the White House came out and released a letter. White House has released a letter saying Trump is swelling in lower legs, evaluated as benign condition, and that bruises on Trump's hands are due to frequent handshaking and use of aspirin. No, we know that's a concealer mix. But what is it concealing? It's concealing a bruise. Everybody understands that there's like obviously a significant enough bruise on his hands that caused the team to put concealer on his hands. Do we believe it? Let's take a look at what Caroline Leavitt had to say about the bruising on the hands.
Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. She said
he's doing too many deals. Your president is putting his life on the line. Too many deals, too many firm handshakes. Okay? That's crazy.
This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor.
No one thinks he's in excellent health. He is a medical phenomena because he's so fucking fat and he doesn't do any exercise. He's fat as fuck, doesn't do any exercise, and he eats like shit, and yet he's still a dynamo. We don't know how. He is a medical phenomena, but no one would say he's in excellent health, okay? Nobody on the planet would look at Donald Trump and go, well, that's a picture of health right there. Because he's not. He is deeply unhealthy. He looks deeply unhealthy. Who thinks he looks healthy? Reminder, this is his peak form. It's heartbreaking. Yeah, exactly. Trump has mammoth ass and visible panty line. Looks like two polar bears fighting a pillowcase. I mean, this is like one of my favorite photos of Donald Trump. Obviously, yowza, awooga, humana, humana, humana. Like, he is so sexy. He has got an ass for days. You know, I'm feeling some type of way. Obviously, I'd love to get up in that ass. I mean, it is a mammoth ass. It's true. Like, you can see the panty lines too. Like, obviously, it makes everybody feel some type of way. This is exactly the reason why people are obviously sexually attracted to him, because he's big booty. He's a big booty bitch. Okay? Everybody knows this. I'm sorry for objectifying the president as a victim of objectification as a male myself. I feel like I just can't stop myself. Awooga, awooga, humana, humana, humana. Okay? Do you think he wipes his ass clean? It's impossible. You need a whole fucking treatment. Okay? You need a squadron to go all up in that crevice. Okay? Shit is the fucking Mariana Trench down there. Okay? Get out of here. You don't gotta like him. I will never be as cheeked up as him. Okay? He doesn't need a bidet. He needs a pressure washer up in that bitch. Yeah, he needs a fire hose. Maximum pressure. Okay, let's continue and talk about some other shit. So yeah, anyway, yeah, his shit's busted. Okay, I guess he's been evil for too long, and finally it's catching up to him. I don't know. Evil never dies. Probably not. It's not going to happen. I don't think I think he's gonna change. Okay, let's be real. I don't think we're seeing any changes anytime soon. I don't think I know this from my own personal experience with Erdogan, okay? And I know that, there are Russians out there who have, for decades, also felt the same way. When you live in a country like Turkey, or when you live in a country like Russia, or I guess when you live in a country like America now, there's always this fantasy that somehow a medical complication is going to free you, is going to liberate your nation, okay? From the treacherous grip of whatever kind of psychotic, despotic leadership you have. It never happens, okay? I will never believe that. I have spent years and years and years thinking one day, oh my God, is this the time? Is this the time? Is it finally happening? That's like a huge meta in every country where there's an awful fucking somewhat charismatic, despotic, tyrannical leader. People will always quietly, or not even quietly, sometimes openly discuss divine intervention, some kind of medical condition that will finally take out the leadership. It does not happen, but it is pretty funny. I will say it's pretty funny that Americans are also experiencing this now. Because America, more and more people are recognizing that America is not the democratic country that they thought it was. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. He's making Horcruxes. He's immortal. The original child of Yakub. DJT is over 10,000 years old. Breaking. Donald Trump has been diagnosed with chronic venous inefficiency per press secretary. This condition, where veins have trouble sending blood from the legs back to the heart, often cause damaged valves. This can lead to blood pooling in the legs, causing various symptoms and complications. That's it. Yeah, he's gooning. I think the only solution is gooning. Yeah. He underwent vascular testing after he had swelling in his legs. All results were within normal limits, and the president remains in excellent health. He's a gooner. He is a gooner, okay? That's what it is. I think he's gooning too hard. All right. Speaking of, I guess I won't get into the gooning too hard stuff yet. Here's Matt Lieb. Let's do this quick meme here, and then we will move on to the news. Specifically, NPR getting defunded. NPR and PBS, Piker Broadcasting Service, or the Public Broadcasting Service, getting defunded. We'll talk about the damage of that, obviously, and a lot more in a second. But before I go, I am going to just play this clip for you guys about who gets to really Who is the real reason why people have not come out and said anything about Israel for a long time? Let's take a look.
For 20 months, you've been asking me the same questions. Hey, what are your thoughts on Palestine? What do you think about the whole Palestine thing? Hey, you've been making content about politics and social justice for a decade, but are weirdly silent about Palestine. What do you think about it? It's a genocide. Okay? Are you happy? I've known it's a genocide, and I've always been against it. Well, hey, how come you haven't said anything about it? I have. I've been writing about it every day in my diary. Yes, I haven't said anything publicly for 20 months about it. Because why? Because what good would it do? It doesn't do anything. All it does is let you know that I'm against genocide, which is the exact question that you've been asking me. But I was absolutely going to say something. I was going to say something publicly about it. But then I started to think, and I was like, just be honest. There's nothing I could have said. There's nothing I could have posted that would have made the pro-Palestine crowd happy. Okay? You know it's true. If I had said, yes, Israel's doing a genocide 20 months ago, I would have been attacked so hard. Do you remember 20 months ago? Anyone who said that this was a genocide was viciously smeared by the online left. Thinking that Israel was committing ethnic cleansing could get you fired from your job by mobs of angry Hassan Piker fans. Students who were shouting ceasefire now were being expelled from school thanks to shadowy organizations like Democracy Now!, the War and Peace Report. People were being deplatformed on Instagram for saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. They were being censored by the oligarchs at the Chapo Trap House. It happened to me. It happened to me early on. I voiced my full-throated support of the Palestinian people by tweeting from the Arab to the Jew, I'll vote blue no matter who. And guess what? I was immediately canceled by the left. Like someone would be labeled a Zionist for slightly deviating from the leftist talking points. Like if they said like, yes, Israel is committing a genocide and there's nothing we can do about it. Have you seen any good movies lately? Immediately people are like, oh, you're a Zionist. People are falsely misconstruing my silence as either like tacit support of genocide or as cowardice. And you know what? It's neither. I haven't been silent. I've been quietly studying.
You know what's really funny about this? Like, I mean, Matt Lieb is obviously making a joke. This is satire for all of the I will never understand satire. Jokes are bourgeois decadence. Jokes are reactionary crowd. Okay. But it is funny to think that like this is unironically bar for bar verbatim the attitude that like some liberal Zionists have demonstrated online from ContraPoints to Ethan Klein. So you can't really figure out if it's a joke or not. But yeah, of course, he's making fun of them.
Studying the left, and I realized that they were doing it wrong. Palestinians are being killed every day.
Or Tom York, too.
Because the online left keeps showing images of Palestinians being killed every day. If people had followed my lead, there would be far fewer Palestinians who were dying that we were aware of. We'd have peace and quiet. At the very least, we'd have quiet. And that's half of what we want. But the left always makes the perfect the enemy of the good. They cannot compromise even a little. So no, I will not be making any content about the genocide, okay? It's too divisive, it's too intractable, and it's literally impossible to do it in an entertaining way.
Yep.
All right, for 20 months, you've been asking.
Yeah. It's just such a, was that a ContraPoints call out? It's not. It's not just a ContraPoints call out, for the record. There are a lot of people like this. There are a lot of fucking people like this, which is why so many people in their fandoms get offended when Matt does like a joke such as this one, or so many people's fandom goes, oh, you're attacking the Ethan Klein. It's like, well, he didn't actually directly say that, but he's talking about a specific type of person. Okay. And it's not just ContraPoints, or it's not just Ethan Klein. It's not just Tom York. Like there are people like this. They're unique because most of the Hasbara revolves around a no acknowledgement of genocide at all, right? Like most of the pro-Israel crowd will obviously understandably refuse to acknowledge that there is a genocide happening or that there's an apartheid happening. Why? Because at least they have the recognition that, yeah, if it's a fucking genocide, it's totally justifiable to fight back against it militarily, right? Like they get it. At least the pro-Israel crowd gets it. Which is why they actively will say it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. There are some who have conceded on that point, but then still try to do pro-Israel stuff, and it doesn't make any sense. It's like this weird position that they found themselves in where, yes, it's a genocide, but please shut the fuck up about it. And also, if you don't shut the fuck up about it, anyone that actually calls it out is actually contributing to the death of the Palestinians by highlighting the plight of the Palestinians, who, by the way, we would never see if it wasn't for the Palestinians themselves that are posting their own demise. Also, Hassan, I don't live too far away from you. One day I got to come on the show and react with you. Thanks for protesting in LA. No. What the fuck? That's a crazy thing to say, chatter. Yeah, you're a G. Okay, thanks, man. But no, that's not how this works. You don't just go, hey, man, I'm pulling up to your house as a fan. That's weird, dude. There's no invitations like that. That's crazy. All right. Did I miss the Trump health issues chat? You did. We briefly covered it. There was not too much to talk about. Let's get to the real health of the American democracy that is also unhealthy. The Trump administration, the Senate is passing $9 billion in spending cuts, including cuts to public broadcasting and U.S. aid.
The deadline for Congress to pass President Trump's requested cuts to foreign aid and public broadcasting. The Senate narrowly approved the $9 billion budget cutback. Now the House has until midnight tomorrow to send it to the president's desk. Let's bring in ABC's Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill for more. Jay, Republican Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski joined Democrats in opposing this final bill. What's the latest on how this vote went down, and what opposition does it face in the House?
Listen, it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. If you want to be on the Hasanabi broadcast, okay, as a fan, you have to become Zohran Mamdani. You have to run for office as a socialist, and you have to create a groundswell of support for yourself, and then you can come on the fucking broadcast. That's how it works. Okay, so go out there, run for office, and win, and then I'll have you on the stream.
Yeah, so just those two moderate Republican senators, Diane, to your point, Collins and Murkowski,
New
to vote
angle
against
on the
this package.
shooting.
Ultimately, Mitch McConnell, who was another Republican senator that we were watching, doesn't cast that no vote, which means J.D. Vance, the vice president, didn't have to come in and break the tie the way he did for the procedural vote on this same package of legislation that, again, as you say, codifies those so-called DOGE cuts to federal spending, and in particular looks at foreign aid that was slashed after the gutting of...
I'm not implying Zoran's a Hasanabi head. I'm saying it.
USAID and folding it into the State Department, and also about a $1 billion cut to public broadcasting that's going to impact both NPR and PBS. So as this legislation comes back out of the Senate, it was changed, a program called PEPFAR, which is a program to prevent the spread of HIV and AIDS across the globe. Typically, it's had broad bipartisan support in the past, was spared with a last-minute change to the language in the Senate that wasn't included in the House version of this bill. Now this bill, because of that change, has got to go back to the House. And as you say, it's unclear the level of support that it has. I've talked to some hardline House Republicans who typically are spending hawks, who typically would be sticks in the mud with any kind of bill that was rewritten by the Senate, who say, in general, they seem okay with this language because in broad, it's $9 billion plus worth of cuts. And they're not necessarily that upset that this $400 million PEPFAR program was largely spared by this, because this does take a serious axe to other foreign aid programs, including other foreign aid health-related programs across the globe. So this looks like it might have an easier path out of the House of Representatives, but that's if the House gets over its own drama right now and a paralyzed House floor, or what was previously a paralyzed House floor, because of this ongoing crypto bill fight.
And Jay, the House advanced 3 crypto bills after breaking a record for the longest House vote in modern history. So what's in those bills, and when is the Senate expected to take them up?
So these are bills that regulate crypto writ large. One of them has already passed the Senate. It regulates so-called stable coins, a specific kind of digital asset. And there's another bill that has broader ambitions than that hasn't cleared out of the Senate yet. These bills were held up. Again, as I said, the House floor was paralyzed because there were hard.
Thank God they advanced the 3 crypto bills, dude. I was really worried, okay? I like that there is... I like that people our politicians are doing the most. Democrat, Republican alike, when it comes to like doing shit about cryptocurrency, most of which is actually protecting cryptocurrency and the interests of people who have cryptocurrencies or deregulation. Sometimes there's a little bit of regulation, but even that regulation is like beneficial for, like, it's the same principle behind Sam Bankman fraud that was actively trying to write legislation that benefited him personally. There is a lot of lobbying around cryptocurrency. I do not trust any of the bills that this Congress passes that tries to even actively regulate cryptocurrency. I think it's all garbanzo. It's all a scam. Even though Bitcoin is up, it's 120, whatever. I don't care. I'm not touching it. I don't know. I don't think it's ever going to go tits up, but I will say that it is just an unregulated, insecure security that is not associated with anything that you can even point to. And I guess it's like a secondary. I mean, you could make the same argument about the stock market in general, and it's true, but at least the stock market, or at least like the global economy, is run by the confidence that people have in the American empire. Whereas with Bitcoin and whatnot, there's like not really anything going on. It's just even more fake than the stock market. It's not a security, it's a speculative asset. It is, but it's just not even associated with anything. It's just extra gambling.
Hardline Republicans who had serious concerns about what's called a central bank digital currency, essentially a digital asset taking the place of the U.S.
Bitcoin also allows criminals to hide their activity. That's why China banned it. I mean, that's the only good thing about cryptocurrency. And even that part is like actively being suppressed anyway. Okay. The only good thing about cryptocurrencies is that it's supposed to be like a way for people to continue, like, you know, funding initiatives that you normally wouldn't be able to fund. It's not always what the government considers to be bad is not always bad necessarily. You know what I mean? Sometimes it is really bad, though, of course, like, you know. A central bank cryptocurrency would be bad. It'd be easy to track and freeze our assets. Yeah. So much of the cryptocurrency world does unironically revolve around unstable, get rich quick, make everybody else hold the bag ass fucking schemes, though. So anyway, whatever. Let's continue. I don't want to even talk about cryptocurrency. People get so mad at me.
Privacy concerns with that. There's no plan in the works for that. This bill doesn't talk about that, but they say this bill doesn't do enough to prevent the emergence of that possible fear that they have. So they held this vote up on that key procedural vote, dragging it out, as you say, to be the longest vote in the history of the House of Representatives. Ultimately, they say they got concessions out of both the Speaker and the White House to include language about their concerns about that digital currency in a future piece of defense legislation. So they ultimately voted yes on that key procedural vote last night, which tees up these overall crypto bills, a top priority of the president, who has billed himself as the most crypto-friendly president in history, to ultimately go to a vote today. And in theory, unless there are other hang-ups, pass. And after they get over those crypto bills, then they got to take up that rescissions bill that we were just talking about that came back from the Senate.
All right. Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill with a lot to keep track of today. Jay, thank you.
We've been listening to the White House press briefing there, hit a number of topics, most notably, or among the notable topics, we heard about the president's medical condition, with the White House press secretary there saying that he was evaluated by the White House medical.
All right, we already covered this.
President Trump slamming some of his own this morning, supporters who say he should release more records from the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking investigation.
Howard Lutnick's firm Cantor Fitzgerald is responsible for the USDT Tether, one of the biggest stable coins. It has never passed an audit and is very, very sus. It props up a lot of the crypto market. Guarantee he's lobbying hard behind the scenes. I mean, what do you mean behind the scenes? He's lobbying hard in front of the cameras. He is literally slammed inside of Donald Trump's ass cheeks every single time. So much so that anti-Semitic people have decided, like, he's Donald Trump's handler, his Jewish handler. Like, He's literally always there. He's always behind Donald Trump all the goddamn time. So he's not exactly been secretive about his ambitions. You know what I mean? How does crypto benefit the US dollar? I don't think cryptocurrency benefits the US dollar. I think cryptocurrency is or at least for like a lot of the maximalists, like they think the cryptocurrency will be the new sovereign currency. Except so much of it is in the hands of a couple people and we don't know who the fuck they are. And not only that, but also it is a direct competitor to the global reserve currency, which is currently the petrodollar. But again, the petrodollar is like tied to an asset to a certain degree. It's also propped up by the confidence that people have in the American empire. Very, very rare L from Hassan. No, I'm just look. I'm just telling you how it is. I'm not making a value judgment here about cryptocurrency when I say like some people want to make that the new global currency as opposed to the dollar. The dollar, which is the currency in which global trade is done. Most global trade is conducted on. But it goes against American empire and American hegemony. That is the truth. Especially considering that we don't know if, like, let's say Bitcoin became the global currency in which people do trade and it replaced the dollar. We don't know who owns like massive fucking stockpiles of Bitcoin. Like a big chunk of the Bitcoin is in the hands of, the speculation is in the hands of one person, right? That is an insane amount of power for one individual to just like what? Single-handedly become the most powerful person on the planet, like Satoshi or whatever. Trump is selling out U.S. power to his buddies. Same thing with firing Jerome Powell, torching our long-term economy for short-term stock market gain. I think that Donald Trump and his buddies are basically picking apart the American empire's dying corpse for scraps. That's what I think. One of the most terrifying aspects of the big booty bill was America and the American government officially moving away from renewables. Okay? This is one of the major reasons why Elon Musk understandably was frustrated with the bill. But like that signaled to the whole world that this next wave, this actual, like, this only exit ramp that we as a global planet have to move away from this finite resource of fossil fuels, America is not going to participate in this. We have completely conceded that ground to China. China owns the monopoly on this. They will be the leader of the future. They will. We don't even want to compete with them. We don't want to try and pump R&D and funds into making batteries more efficient, making batteries at all. We're not doing any of that. We have just completely given up on that. It is a way for the American government to basically say, you know what? We're losing the game of Monopoly, so I would rather flip the table and wipe it all out than to lose to China in the game of Monopoly. That is what we're doing. Are we cooked is a great question, and the answer is yes. We are cooked both literally and figuratively because of the way that, because of what our decision is in terms of like energy. Our decision for the future is we're going with fossil fuels. We're not touching renewable energy. We're just completely moving away from even trying to develop new technology in renewable energy. It's kind of like if in the space race where we were behind, we went, fuck space, we're staying in cars. I mean, it's worse than that. Because at least with the space race, like, I mean, there's a lot of technological achievements that came from the space race, but like, ultimately, this is a life or death scenario. This is an existential crisis that we are refusing to reckon with in terms of climate change. Do you understand? And we're seeing the immediate results of this, or not even we're now seeing the tangible results of this climate change, anthropogenic climate change, in the form of like massive floodings that take place, whether in Kerr County in Texas or even in New York the other day. And we, instead of addressing these crises that are real crises that are killing people, we've just decided we're going to close our eyes and plug our ears, you know, and refuse to reckon with it and not even do anything to try to mitigate, try to prevent, try to do recovery and rescue. We're cutting all of that. It's just like, yep, you're all on your own. It's a knife fight. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to watch it unfold. Your politicians send us a letter to say our fires are ruining their summer. Pull NOAA funding. Navy stop sharing atmospheric information with NOAA also. Yeah. It is a very interesting, it's a very sad, very scary situation if we're being real. Like closing our eyes and just like refusing to stare at this existential threat that is imminent. Or even like the early stages of said existential threat already taking place and just like refusing to reckon with it is so psychotic. It's so crazy. This planet deleted all life at least 5 times without us being around. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, what are you going to do? We will experience devastating droughts ruining the agricultural sector. It's already happening in countries like Algeria and the whole northern Africa. Yeah. Canceling climate energy, renewable energy projects, canceling all of the research and development or even resources that are expended at the behest of like figuring out when the next major incident is going to take place is so insane. It's the Trump COVID technique of just being like, if you don't recognize that COVID is happening, then it's like, it's as if it's not happening at all. Don't test it. Don't test it. But here's something that Trump is also trying to avoid talking about, and that is the Epstein files. And in the process of trying to avoid talking about it, he just keeps talking about it and extending the conversation. President Trump spars with Republicans over Epstein files controversy, calling it a big hoax. Let's take a look.
It was only a year ago that Trump and his allies helped spread conspiracy theories surrounding Epstein. Now the president calls them a hoax and says anyone demanding more information are weaklings and stupid.
This is why your lack of support and advocacy for indigenous governments is a problem. Yeah, you're right. I'm antagonistic and against whatever this means. Indigenous governments. I don't even. Thank you. As you guys know, I'm famously against. I always. Not only do I refuse to support it, I'm actually against it. And as a Twitch streamer with 33,000 people watching right now, in the process of talking about you're an ethno-caserist. What does that mean? I like that I'm over here being like, hey guys, the planet is dying. America is just not invested in it at all. They're fucking blowing up the planet. And there's so many wars happening. And the current administration is basically picking apart the dying empire for scraps at the behest of capital. And there are people who are like, you know what the real problem is? Your lack of support for indigenous governments around the world. Like, what are you even saying, dude? What the fuck? It's just, I don't even know. I don't know. I'm throwing the towel. You know what I mean? You're more woke than me, chatter. I'm sorry. Woke of the day goes to you today. What the fuck? The ethno-cacerist movement. The Peruvian nationalist movement is a Peruvian ethnic nationalist movement that espouses an ideology called ethno-cacerism. Ethno-cacerismo. The movement seeks to establish a dictatorship of the proletariat led by the country's indigenous communities and their descendants. It draws on the ideas and history of several indigenous and anti-colonial movements. Ethno-cacerism is considered an indigenous ideology. It is currently represented in electoral politics by the Union for Peru Party and other smaller parties. The ideology is also followed by Peruvian militant groups such as the Plurinational Association of Tahuantin Suyo Reservists and Ejército de Reservistas Andino Amazonico. I mean, seems good to me. I'm on board. Okay, I am a Maoist third worldist. I'm in favor of all Maoist third worldist emancipatory movements. Okay, all indigenous movements. I'm on board with. Okay, please stop yelling at me. All of them. All right, let's get back to this now.
Scott McFarland is with us from Washington with more on all of it. Scott, what's going on here? Good morning.
On this issue, Tony, the president is not holding back. The typical fire and name-calling he reserves for his political opponents is now being directed at some of the people who helped elect him to office. Hammered with questions about Jeffrey Epstein, President Trump tried to again turn the page on the controversy Wednesday.
They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously has some very serious problems.
But this time, the president is blasting some of his own supporters for continuing to discuss Epstein.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net.
And in a social media post, Trump called those who continue to press the issue weaklings. Before the election, the president, his current Attorney General Pam Bondi, and FBI director, along with his deputy, fueled conspiracy theories about Epstein's death in prison and rumored client lists the Department of Justice now says doesn't exist.
Their new scam.
On Wednesday, many vocal Trump supporters pushed back on the president.
The Democrat.
No man is a facade as the leader is a fascist for brown people, wants to kill LGBTQ and outlaw them. Okay, I'm not in favor of it then. Okay, that was a short-lived conditional support that ended. Okay, there you go. It ended. I am no longer in favor. I'm against that. Too late. Clip out of context. You are dumb, bozo. I don't care. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi came out and has some choice words on MSNBC, my queen, on the Epstein stuff. We'll get to that in a second. Let's keep going.
New scam. I mean, this is more of a Republican issue.
Bringing this into the public arena was President Trump. That's a matter of historic record. It's not up for debate.
And it's not just conservatives.
Jeffrey Epstein's what we're talking about, and we want your calls.
In Frederick County, Maryland, Pastor Tim May, who hosts a show on community radio station WFMD, says callers of all political stripes are criticizing Trump over the issue.
If you're not going to release it, just be upfront about why you're not releasing it.
If there's nothing on it, show it to us.
Your show is about the local high school, the county government, but you're getting calls about Epstein.
It's like a mosquito. It keeps coming back to bite you, and you have to address it. And it's interesting, to say the very least.
It keeps coming.
It does. It does. It's the story that everyone wants to go away, and everyone wants to stay.
Senate Republican.
Yeah, I wonder why. So many. I've had conversations with friends of mine that don't understand why people are so hyper-focused on this, and I keep trying to explain to them that, like, for the average American that is a liberal without even acknowledging that they're a liberal, because like liberalism is monoculture. Okay. Liberalism requires a different myth making. Okay. A different kind of world building that is not materialist. Okay. So in that worldview, you have good, bad dynamics. Some people are good. Some people are bad. That's precisely the reason why conspiracy theories, especially in a country like America, are so prominent. Because conspiracy theories seek to solve the question, why are things the way that they are? And because we are so devoid of any sort of materialist lens in which we view history from, a lot of people end up trying to solve that puzzle by diving into the realm of conspiracy. So for them, Jeffrey Epstein is basically the closest that they can arrive at like some kind of class politics, okay, without actually recognizing class politics from the relations that they have with the means of production, or class politics in the Marxian sense. That's why you hear a lot of people go, well, this is not just about left and right. This is just about, you know, the people versus the elites. Because that's precisely what this is. Jeffrey Epstein is a very visible aspect of societal elites, you know, incredibly wealthy financiers, you know, leaders of nations doing terrifying things behind closed doors and not experiencing any repercussions for that. Okay? It is perhaps the greatest example of wealthy people getting to do whatever the fuck they want and being above the law. And that is the reason why a lot of people, regardless of their ideological markers, hyper-focus on this issue, because it's a very obvious issue with severe crimes that we know of that have taken place. That's why so many people hyper-focus on this, okay? It's some of the most vulnerable people, young girls, being sex trafficked by some of the most powerful people on the planet. That's why it doesn't matter what your party allegiance looks like. You want answers to this. And it's very obvious that Donald Trump, a lot of people voted for Donald Trump because they were like, oh, he's an anti-establishment guy. He's not one of them. He's rich enough that he is not corruptible. That was, I mean, it was wrong to think this, of course, right? But plenty of people still thought it. He was able to successfully market himself as this like anti-establishment guy. And considering that the Epstein case is like a classic example of like previous administrations protecting the establishment, protecting the societal elites, the expectation from Trump's base of support was that Donald Trump would actually crack the code. It was basically the most like immediate way of moving away from like the crazy QAnon conspiracies to a very real thing that took place that everyone understands was fucked up. Because unlike QAnon, Jeffrey Epstein is real, is a real person, and he had real victims. And he had real associates. And governments have consistently been suspiciously quiet about this major case. So if you're still firmly a believer that these institutions are supposed to, at the end of the day, you know, do some kind of justice, this is a severe ongoing injustice. That there are people out there who have done horrifying crimes and have been associated with someone who is a horrible criminal, and they get to live amongst us. They get to dominate society. Of course, people are going to continue to demand answers for this. And Trump presented himself as the guy who would give us those answers. And many people in his base believed that he would give us those answers on this issue. So for many people, this is the first time when they're like, oh my God, maybe he is actually one of them and not one of us, or working for us. Maybe he's just another creepy billionaire, which is of course the case. Yes, that was always the case. But this is a moment of recognition for a lot of people. It's a wake-up call that Trump doesn't have their interest in mind. Trump is also just like any other Republican politician or any other Democratic politician, a part of the uniparty. And it wasn't enough that he was, he consistently showed that that was the reality with the Israel stuff, with the with the fact that he did not end the wars on day one, right? No new wars. With the fact that he bombed Iran. He could at least like get enough of his base to be on board with all of those things. But this is one issue where the base is not going to let up, because it's this is like one of the only things that they care about. And one of the only things that they know Trump has complete control over. So if you have complete control over the release of these files and potentially, letting justice be served, and you're refusing to do that, then yeah, of course, people are going to be frustrated. I'm a dialectical materials and moral philosopher actively working on a theory to build classless tool of relatability that anyone can use to assess themselves as an individual in terms of knowing active and historic oppression. I'm writing about my thoughts of memology, virality, communism, and to be honest, anything. Jesus Christ. Chronically on Lenin, Substack. Why you are a communist? That's crazy. Charlie did a video on it.
It should be painfully obvious to anyone that's been following all of this.
Yeah, this is also the other reason why, like, a lot of otherwise, like, apolitical guys who have shied away from doing a lot of commentary as of late are grabbing onto this. Because this is an apolitical issue. And by that, I mean, this is an issue that you can talk about without alienating your right-wing audience. This is an issue you can talk about without having, it's a unified issue. So it's one that you can talk about, which, yeah, Ludwig did one too. Unsurprising. Because remember, Moist Critical basically said, I'm throwing in the towel. I don't want to do this like drama stuff anymore. And part of that was because like people were obviously yelling at him quite a bit. And it's a shitty situation to be in. I totally understand that as someone who gets yelled at quite a bit professionally online. So, you know, that's part of the reason why, like, people like Charlie and Ludwig will release their takes on this, because it's not something that like right-wing content creators and their audiences will yell at them over. Because let's be real, a lot of these guys, regardless of their own personal political perspectives, I think shy away from releasing takes that might alienate some in their base of support, not because they're worried that like people are just no longer going to like them. I think it's mostly that they're worried that they're going to be targeted and yelled at, because they see it. Every content creator sees how people get treated if they have an honest opinion that deviates away from whatever the commentary space and their right-wing, apolitical right-wing opinion is. You get harassed endlessly. You have bots that come after you. So the reputational damage is not worth putting your name out there. That's it. Ironically enough, of course, no, it's not even about the money, chatters. I think it's literally beyond that. I think it's because they don't want to be dogpiled. Okay? They see it. That is in the same way that the government actually engages in chilling effects on speech by actively suppressing speech, by jailing dissidents, the internet side of things, the internet commentary side of things is basically kept together with negative pressure, a consistent flow of doxing, harassment, and threats, and people that come in and try to ruin your fucking life. And many creators see that and they say they don't want to they don't want to be a part of that. They're too afraid to put their name out there and get fucking endlessly harassed. Ironically enough, I've talked about the negative consequences of this because, like, if the only kind of commentary that you hear in this space that is considered permissible is right-wing, or people saying they're apolitical but lean on right-wing takes, then that creates an environment of permission for only right-wing commentary. It literally turns the entire space into a right-wing shithole. But that's a totally separate point. $40 for a t-shirt? Yep. American made, union made, baby. But let's see what Charlie had to say.
That it is clear the government thinks that you are an idiot. They think you are a drooling, stupid Cro-Magnon that will just happily swallow anything they put into your mouth and not think anything more of it, so they don't even need to try when it comes to the cover-up of the Jeffrey Epstein case. There is now a desperate push from Trump and a lot of paid shills to convince the public that the Jeffrey Epstein thing is no big deal and that it's all now a hoax. It has now been officially labeled by Trump and people on the payroll here as a hoax. And they are legitimately laughing at you and actually giggling. They cannot help but have like an actual Santa Claus ho 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 belly laugh at this play here, this fucking play that John Madden's playbook wouldn't even have in it, about how they're just going to tell you that all of it's not real a week ago, and now they're telling you it is real, but it's actually like a big fake hoax from Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the Democrats. And for some people, that's enough. He hit the big buzzwords, so it must be true. So now a lot of people are running with that, like, we gotta move on from this Epstein thing. It's all fraudulent. He said so. Even though Trump literally campaigned as one of his promises to deliver this Epstein information, the client list. Now he is calling it a hoax. Now I want to mention something up top here that I'm very curious to see how it plays out. Yesterday I covered the amendment that was put forth that got fucking smacked down at the Royal Rumble, where there was an amendment put forth that would try and force the DOJ to release the Epstein client list and all that shit. And it got voted against unanimously by...
I'm surprised to hear Charlie say this because it's a hot button issue. No, it's a universal one. It's the people versus the elites in the most like obvious ways possible. That's why there's no, like, this is not one of those things where there's like severe repercussions. What is the F happening? What is there, like an actual F? I can't tell anymore.
The Republicans voting to block it.
This is the most bipartisan issue. That's why that is part of the reason why like people will have takes on this that you normally wouldn't hear takes from.
Democrats voted unanimously to not have it be blocked, so that way they could at least have a debate about the Epstein files and the handling of it. It didn't go to the next step. It got stopped there, and there was a lot of like citing of confusion and how like, well, actually no, that's not what the vote was for because it was attached to the Genius Act, which is a different cryptocurrency legislation, so they were voting to not do that, and then this was slapped on top of it, so they had to vote no or else it'd give the floor to the Democrats or something, but ultimately the end result was the same. It got blocked. Well, today there's a new proposal that's getting put forth that is aiming to do something similar in a different way, that has support from all the Democrats and 7 Republicans as of now, but apparently even more will be co-signing it, about releasing the Jeffrey Epstein client list and that kind of shit. So I'm very curious to see how that unfolds. I'll go ahead and play you a little bit here where they interviewed.
And tomorrow. And this is to force, this is a discharge petition, right? It's going to force this bill onto the floor of the House. And then what does it say?
So it's both the discharge petition and the bill. It's the discharge petition is to force it on the House. The way it works is Thomas Massey and I introduced it yesterday. It takes 7 legislative days before you can actually go through the discharge petition. We're likely going to be in August recess. So the reality is it probably will come up for a vote after the August recess. And the bill says to release all evidence for the Epstein file, but it makes it clear that does not include any of the victim information. It does not include any child pornography. It gives the DOJ the ability to protect the victims, but to release all the other evidence and files.
So here.
Now, I'm not the most knowledgeable person. I'm a fucking Neanderthal when it comes to most things, but from the sound of things here, it seems like this is a step in the right direction to maybe finally getting justice for the victims here of Epstein and all of his clients, instead of what's currently happening where the current administration is just trying to bury it and being very clear that they're not even fucking pursuing any kind of action against all of the people they have all this evidence on and not releasing any of the client list information. This seems like it's trying to force that to come forward and maybe eventually, hopefully get those criminals thrown in jail for all of the crimes they've committed. I guess we'll see how it all shakes down, but I wanted to mention this up top because it seems like it is finally getting to a point where there is some kind of legislation being drafted to try and push this issue more forward. Now, let's talk about how Trump continues to handle this. He is like full-blown melting down about the whole thing and fully lashing out at his own base now. He is attacking even his most adamant supporters over the Epstein.
What? It's POCD, pedo obsessive compulsive disorder. People are really too obsessed with pedophiles. The richer, the better. After the big X, you can't get beyond hidden evidence, become unrewarding, then you will know. Talking about this is on par with UFO disclosure. It's a joke, and we know how to take care of it. I mean, there's a difference between the Epstein stuff and like Pizzagate, right? Like, I think Pizzagate is completely fucking insane. Or people thinking that like Wayfair is participating in like the sex trafficking of minors is completely fucking insane. Jeffrey Epstein is a criminally convicted pedophile sex trafficker. Like, that's not a criminally convicted pedophile sex trafficker that was associated long after he was outed and arrested and jailed and got a sweetheart plea deal with global elites. I think that there's a difference between, like, I know that the conspiracy theory and real conspiracies, like a conspiracy to commit a crime, and the language used here kind of muddies the waters, but there is definitely a fucking difference between someone like Jeffrey Epstein and what level of involvement he had with people that we know of and people that have been able to hide their involvement, and what kind of illicit actions that they engaged in, as opposed to like UFO shit. It's not that complicated. People get obsessed with pedo catcher shit because it's the lowest rungs of society. So even if someone's is a grandma pill stealing piece of shit, they can always find someone else that society hates even more. The Epstein factor brings it to a whole different level, though. Yes, exactly. That is definitely a thing that MHUD has talked about before as well, but I've also talked about as well, like the whole like pedo catcher stuff that like pops off. In most circumstances, you see like people who engage in that kind of content, people who make that kind of content are pieces of shit themselves, and maybe even sometimes pedophiles themselves, right? But the reason why they do that is because like it's the easiest way to say this is the most evil person that you can. A pedophile is the most evil person, right? That you can point to, and then by definition, you're going after people who are the most evil people in society, so you look good in comparison. No matter how big of a fucking piece of shit you personally are. This is not the same thing, though. You know what I mean? This is not like going online and like trying to trick like a mentally stunted adult and then ritualistically humiliating them in this like honey trap scheme that you created so you can get fucking clout on kick.tv while simultaneously you're doing a lot of illicit shit on the side. This is very different than that. This is, Prince Andrew and disgraced financiers and former heads of state and former intelligence agency leaders were directly involved with this person. Okay, that's a totally separate realm. Like, even like Andrew Tate or Diddy and the crimes that they've engaged in do not meet the standard of Jeffrey Epstein, which is why I hold it in a totally different category beyond like the pedo hunter shit.
Case. He's even saying with his whole floppy chest that you are a bad person if you care about the Epstein stuff. So
yeah, one of the craziest defenses that I've seen on this from the Republicans has been, oh, if you want justice to be served, you want to actually see CSAM. Which, of course, everyone's favorite Israel defender, Lolicon Enjoyer, also had that to say as well. This fucking weirdo. Insane stunt. Democrats wanted to release thousands of videos of child porn to the public, so when Republicans inevitably blocked it, they say, block the Epstein files. What a psychotic fucking approach. No one believes this, right? Even like most people in the MAGA base don't believe this. Absolutely zero people that want justice to be served here are creepily obsessed with like releasing actual footage here. Okay, this is the least smart way of deflecting the attention, of spiking the football, basically. Very, very strange. Not so strange coming from this guy who obviously has, shown his friends drawn children, just projection. But like, it is truly one of the dumbest ways to try and fucking deflect the attention away here.
That it's boring and nobody should care, even criticizing his own base, calling out his most loyal MAGA supporters, all the enthusiasts, calling them weaklings if they care about this, and how they're falling for a big scam, hook, line, and sinker into a Democrat galaxy brain chess maneuver here. And actually, like, I wasn't exaggerating, they are literally laughing about it.
It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say let them have it.
So there you hear it. Now, to some of you, the copium's going to set in. You're going to say, hey, he said the credible information, we can release it. We should release it, and we'll talk about that. But they also say in the same interview, we already released the credible information.
And the credible information's been given.
So if it's already been given, they're not going to give you more stuff.
CoffeeZilla recently just covered this section here beautifully. I'm just going to show you a couple of clips here from it where that guy next to Trump actually couldn't contain his laughter.
That guy next to Trump is Howard Lutnick, Cantor Fitzgerald's very own.
He was howling like someone went over there and started tickling him because of Trump's statement here about Epstein, calling people bad people if they care about this. Literally one of the biggest pedophiles in history. Now all of a sudden it's boring, nobody should care, and actually you're a weakling, coward, weirdo, loser, bad person if you do care. So he's trying to get people to like attack others who give a shit about this, which is crazy. Because imagine being this brain dead fucking bumbling homunculi on Twitter that is now attacking people that are calling attention to this. When keep in mind, Trump himself actually had a crucial component of his campaign talk about the Epstein client list and all of that information and how he was going to be so transparent and release it to the public because of how important it is. Not just Trump, other people in the administration as well made the same promises that are now flip-flopping on it. This is pure concentrated lunacy. It is unhinged. And I cannot believe that he is just saying this. Like, not even like tiptoeing around it. He is just full-on saying it. Fucking wet spot in his goddamn diaper here, just saying it in front of the cameras.
Yeah, the guy who's standing next to him is Howard Lutnick, Jeffrey Epstein's longtime neighbor who bought his townhome from a trust controlled by Epstein and Les Wexner, who, for the real conspiracy heads, look up Howard Lutnick 9/11, okay? Howard Lutnick did a takeover of Cantor Fitzgerald which lost like 600 employees on 9/11. Okay, he's in the Twin Towers. Howard Lutnick, then, he wasn't there that morning. He was taking his son to kindergarten. That's not the suspicious part. I'm not saying that he like knew that it was happening or whatever the fuck. His brother died on 9/11 at Cantor Fitzgerald. Howard Lutnick then took Lutnick then took he basically did a settlement, okay? And he sued as the chief of Cantor Fitzgerald. He sued the airplane companies, okay? Cantor accused the airline of failing to prevent hijackers from taking the plane that crashed in the firm's headquarters in the North Tower of the World Trade Center. After years of legal wrangling, American Airlines agreed on a $135 million settlement. Howard Lutnick literally took the settlement funds and distributed it by shares of Cantor Fitzgerald, which he retained the most shares on. So he basically did this successful litigation against American Airlines and then kept most of the money. It was one of the most insane things I have ever read in my whole life. It is it's like comical, okay? It's comical levels of evil. Some people inside Cantor Fitzgerald believed the money would be distributed to the families of company employees who died in the attacks or put into the firm's general coffers. But during a conference call in March, Lutnick told senior executives the bulk of the money would be distributed among the firm's partners. What do you mean? Am I dumb? Why is that bad? Why is that bad? Chatter. This is a 9/11 settlement for the family, for the victims of 9/11. The many people that died, like almost the entire fucking firm was wiped out on 9/11 because they were in the Twin Towers. And he took the money. Are you kidding me? He basically kind of robbed the fucking victims and the family members of the victims of 9/11. 600 employees died. That's 600 family members that were supposed to get paid out. He took the bulk of the fucking money in the settlement because the bulk of the money would be distributed among firm's partners, according to one person on the call. Further, the person said each partner would receive $2 for each partnership unit. The source also said Lutnick is widely believed to own the biggest piece of the firm's partnership shares, thus entitling him to possibly tens of millions of dollars from the settlement. I have no idea how much he made from this, but he is the biggest partner, the source said. The speculation in the firm suggests Lutnick took anywhere from $15 million to $25 million from the settlement. A spokeswoman for Cantor would not deny he was entitled to receive millions of dollars, and neither she nor Lutnick would deny the speculated amount. A senior executive at Cantor said the manner in which the settlement was distributed, including the chunk of money Lutnick received, is entirely appropriate, since Cantor never promised family victims a portion of the money in the first place. The executive described the case against American Airlines as a business interruption lawsuit, since Cantor's offices were destroyed in the attack, meaning it was appropriate for the company to keep the money. That is Wall Street, baby. That is real Wall Street shit right there. Comical evil. Yeah. It was a business interruption suit. So we are the ones who suffer, not the families who had their family members die on 9/11. 600 of them. It is us, the executives, who survived it. That's the guy next to Donald Trump. That's the guy who is tasked with crippling the federal regulatory agencies. Okay? For those of you who don't know, the guy that is always around Donald Trump, Howard Nutlick, also known as Howard Lutnick, American businessman, philanthropist, who has served as the 41st United States Secretary of Commerce since February 21st, 2025. He was a part of the Trump campaign, and now he is the Secretary of Commerce, also tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Despite the fact that he's lying, despite the fact that he's like smiling in the background, and I think this is maybe a little bit more too inside baseball for Charlie or CoffeeZilla to investigate. Howard Lutnick, much like many of their New York City financiers, is also tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Howard Lutnick's real estate ties to financier and child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein are once again drawing scrutiny, given the Commerce Secretary's apparent support for President Donald Trump's dismissal of what he described as the Epstein case. Oh, they pointed out?
Multiple times now. Like, this is...
He was the next door neighbor and he bought Jeffrey Epstein's manor.
This is an element you won't find on the periodic table, the element of surprise, because I am shocked by this and how people are actually okay with the statement. He is saying that you are a piece of shit if you are trying to get answers about the biggest child predator of all time and all of the evil associates that are getting away with the unthinkable crimes they committed.
Also, Cantor does not dispute the most frequently heard complaint that the company dropped the missing employees from its payroll on September 15th. True, the employees are no longer working, but some firms that lost people in the disaster are keeping the missing employees on the payroll until families have some other safety net in place. Some unhappy Cantor families have argued that they expected similar treatment in light of Mr. Lutnick's public professions of concern. They dropped the fucking employees that died on 9/11 from the payroll. Demonic. 4 days after 9/11, Chad. 4 days after 9/11. It is so fucking nutty, dude. He is a real ass demon, bro. Okay? And Trump looks at that guy and goes, that's my guy. That's my guy. He's my demon. Can't wait for him to run the country like a business. Like a business. Art of the deal, baby.
Still been no arrest or anything even close to it, and he is now calling even people in his most tight-knit groups of enthusiasts that sing his praises and suck farts out of his butt all fucking day, calling them weaklings if they care about this. It's unbelievable. Oh, also, there's a little interesting tidbit of lore about the guy who was laughing next to Trump.
The guy next to Trump looking on and laughing as Trump says this is a big nothing burger. The only people who would deal in this kind of talk are fake news. That is Epstein's neighbor. That is Howard Lutnick, who has a house that was next to Epstein's place. You can see him laughing here.
Isn't that fascinating? If this was a TV show, people would criticize this for bad writing, being like...
Also, if this was a Democrat, the Republicans would literally be up in arms already. Like, they would be trying to actively assassinate the leadership. Okay? As a matter of fact, a big part of the reason why people on the Republican side care about this so much is because of the understandable fascination they have with the deep connections that the Clintons have with the Epsteins. I want answers for that as well, because I'm not a fucking partisan shill. I don't give a fuck. This transcends beyond politics. This is precisely the reason why I say, for a lot of Americans who don't have any sort of like materialist perspective, materialist framework, this is like class politics for them. This is the societal elites engaging in illicit behavior in a way that they can understand, in a way that they are fascinated with.
Like, too in your face. I mean this legitimately. The government thinks
this is the most real version of the cabal. You know what I mean? Of the deep state pedophilic elite cabal. This is like the most real version of that. Okay, they're not doing like they're not sacrificing things for some like unforeseen God or whatever. Like, that's not the truth. That's not the case. But like a complex, intelligence-backed blackmail operation that ties a lot of societal elites together. We want to know the fucking involvement. We want to know the level of involvement. It's not about adrenochrome, but we want to know who did what. Why did they do it? What did they do? What was the extent of their involvement with a person like Jeffrey Epstein?
You are a fucking imbecile. They think you are a buffoon that can't think for themselves at all, can't rationally, sensibly think about anything, so they can just piss in your face and tell you it's raining, and you'll smile about it and nod and say, thanks, you're right. I mean, and I guess they're actually kind of right here, because there are so many people that are just buying into this and moving on from it.
Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen?
No, it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And
does he just actually think everyone in this country is Drew Barrymore from 50 First Dates that just forgets everything after a few seconds? Goober, you literally made the promise multiple times that you would release the Epstein information and all of that shit. People around you made the same promises, and now it's just crickets and just falling in line with your delusional attempt here to convince people that it's all some kind of hoax. Nobody is buying that. Nobody that's not on payroll, that is buying that. It is absurd. If this was constructed by the Democrats, surely they would have used it as a weapon against you for the last 4 fucking years that you just mentioned. They would have definitely dropped this information as a means of attacking you. Literally anybody could tell you the same thing. The immediate question that gets raised in people's heads when you keep spreading this stupid fucking lie about it being some kind of engineered hoax is, well, why are you just now saying that when you campaigned on releasing this information? It was a part of your campaign.
What is the hoax exactly that the people are on the list? The conspiracy that he didn't kill himself? No, we don't even fully understand what the hoax is because Donald Trump just kind of says it's a hoax, but he doesn't like actually say what is the hoax. That's the other thing. It's like Donald Trump, under different circumstances, is usually fairly good at like manipulating the conversation, driving people's attention to something else. This is one of those moments where he's like caught with his pants down, pissing against the wind, where he's like, oh, it's a hoax. And people are like, what is the hoax here? Like, what is the fucking hoax? Like, did Jeffrey Epstein not do it? Was he innocent? Like, what do you mean it's a hoax? And he's basically approaching this in a fairly careless manner, throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. First, he said, we'll release the files. First, he said he's going to release the files. Then when he came into office, they did a phase 1 of the release and everyone was like, this is shit that we knew already. What the fuck's going on? You didn't release anything. And then Donald Trump came out and was like, why are people asking about Jeffrey Epstein? It's not a thing. It's not, there's no files. There's no list. Shut the fuck up. And then he came out and said, there is a list, but the list was created by Obama and Joe Biden, and that there's a lot of fake phony stuff in the list. And it's like, okay, well, what is it? So there is a list. Let's see the fake list. Well, we already know he's all over the list, technically. Like, of course he's mentioned in the files. He was directly linked with Jeffrey Epstein for many, many years. But we don't know the extent of his association with Jeffrey Epstein past a certain point. That's the thing. We don't know. We don't know the extent of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein even before they seemingly separated. But we certainly don't know the extent of his relationship afterwards. All we do know is that people that were involved with Jeffrey Epstein in a very meaningful fashion, who are connected to societal elites, were backers of Trump. Alan Dershowitz, obviously one of the famous examples, was Jeffrey Epstein's friend and also lawyer. But then beyond that, and he is one of the people that have been sued by a victim, Virginia Giuffre, who passed away recently. But outside of that, I mean, like we've talked about before, Alex Acosta was Donald Trump's labor secretary. Alex Acosta was the prosecutor that gave Jeffrey Epstein that initial sweetheart plea deal. So there are a lot of these people that just like keep coming up over and over again, which have like, a 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon style association with Jeffrey Epstein. And it's not even 7 degrees. It's like directly involved with Jeffrey Epstein. There are so many people who are either directly or one person removed from Jeffrey Epstein all over every single administration. So how and why? I mean, Pam Bondi was the DA in Florida when they flubbed the case the second time around. Pam Bondi was literally the district attorney. It's not 7 degrees of separation. It's 1 degree sometimes, or direct involvement. And they're all over his previous administration. They're all over his current administration. They're all over every other administration as well. So, of course, people are going to be asking some questions. And this is one of those things that I think liberals are trying to, not even a DA, the Attorney General, exactly. But it's one of those reasons, like, well, people ask me this question. They're like, well, if there was a lot on Trump, like, why didn't the Biden administration release this information? And I say it's the exact same reason why Trump won't release this information, regardless of how implicated and how involved the Clintons are. It's because rich people are protecting one another. Do you understand? Rich people are protecting one another because they are all involved. There are a lot of people. This is uniparty. It is bipartisan. Just like defending Israel is bipartisan for our societal elite. Okay, constantly fucking finding money for more military incursions is a bipartisan process in Congress. Engaging with a pedophile sex trafficker that has intelligence connections is also a bipartisan process. It transcends beyond party politics. It is an expression of class solidarity for the owning class, for the capital ownership class. That's it. Correction, Bondi was Attorney General from 2011 to 2015. The first case was 2008. Thank you for the correction. I was wrong. I thought it was longer. I thought she was until 2019. And I think before that, she was a district attorney, no? Wait, let me look up. Yeah, I think she was a DA under Alex Acosta initially, and then she became the Attorney General. She was Attorney General from 2011 to 2019. Exactly. Yes. And then in 2019, she became a lobbyist for the Qatari government. Yeah. During the second case, she was Attorney General in the state of Florida.
It's all just a big hoax. And not
That's why I said she flubbed it the second time.
And just part of the, like, in his first couple months in the office, he also made a big song and dance about the Epstein files and how they're coming. And he even had fucking the file folders distributed to a bunch of fucking drones, a bunch of androids that were parading it around and taking prom pictures with the Epstein files phase 1, who also are now being called weaklings by Trump because they cared about the Epstein files. So he is actually calling those people that he gave those files to fucking weaklings, and says, he did say he doesn't want that kind of support anymore for anyone that cares about Epstein. So he is actually also calling those people weaklings as well. Not that I think they give a shit. They probably enjoy the humiliation here from him. I have no idea. But like, it's crazy because he has also made a big deal of it, and now all of a sudden it's nothing. No one cares about it. It's all just a big act. It's a hoax, actually. None of it's real. It's all fraudulent from the fucking Democrats or something.
It's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax.
Like, half of the stuff that he's like throwing here, I don't even know. Like, what is the 51 agents? He's just like, I feel like he's making up new shit. As a Trump stan, as a parasocial stan turned hater, okay, I've been pretty close. I've been tracking all the fucking conspiracy stuff that he talks about. What is the 51 agents? I feel like that's new. That's a new thing. Like, he says Russia, Russia, Russia. We know that one, right? We know the Russia, Russia, Russia when he says that. What the fuck is the 51 agents?
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the...
Like the Hunter laptop Steele dossier. Is the 51 agents like the number of agents that were involved in the Steele dossier? Is that what it is? The laptop from hell. Because Russia, Russia, Russia is also the Steele dossier. Holding former government officials accountable for election interference and improper disclosure of sensitive governmental information. At least 51 former intelligence officials coordinated with the Biden campaign in 2020 to issue a letter describing. Oh, this is the Hunter Biden laptop. Okay, so 51 agents is the laptop from hell. The laptop from hell. It's 51 agents that issued a letter saying the laptop from hell was bullshit. Saying that it was not Hunter Biden's laptop. To be fair, I also got duped on that. That was a big L for me. I also personally initially thought that the Hunter Biden laptop was hacked material. I mean, I was still fascinated with it. I still obviously covered the events and covered the things that were in the laptop extensively. That didn't stop me from covering it. I thought it was ridiculous that they were trying to like suppress this information from coming out on Twitter. But I also did think it was hacked material. But as you guys know, I don't have any sort of, I don't give a shit if something is hacked material, as you know. But the reason why I thought it was hack material, because I was like, there's no way a human being is that fucking stupid that like this kind of kismet coming together, Hunter Biden leaving his fucking laptop with a blind laptop repairman who happened to be a massive MAGA guy, was so perfect. It was just like so perfect that I was like, there's no way this is real. This must be hack material. That didn't stop me from covering it. Of course, I covered it extensively because I think it's fucking stupid when these guys go, oh, this is hack material. They did this with the WikiLeaks shit too. I was like, fuck that. Right? I was like, there's no way this guy fucking filmed himself smoking crack over and over again with his dick out and then had all of those photos on his laptop that he left with a blind laptop repairman who was a MAGA guy who gave the fucking laptop to the Trump admin. There's just no way, because it was that stupid. Turns out, nope, he is that fucking insane. That story is insane. It is real. All right. Yeah, the laptop repairman that he left it with was blind as well. Unless I'm misremembering. I'm pretty sure the laptop repairman was blind. They made a point about it on fucking They made a point about it on the when they were covering it on Fox News. Everything you said sounds like a skit. Nope, that's how stupid. That is how fucking stupid this administration is. That's how stupid American politics is in general. That's why so many people from all around the world tune in to my broadcast to see what is the next thing that will happen in the dumbest fucking country on the planet that happens to rule the entire planet.
Some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net, and so they try and do the Democrats' work. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements we've had.
He's not being shy about it. Like, he's not being timid. He's not over here, like, under his breath saying these things. He is actually just full-blown multiple times saying how stupid people are if they care about Epstein case and all of the evil people that have gotten away with it that are actively being covered for by this administration. Also, the previous administration as well. Anyone that's ever cared about the Epstein case apparently is stupid in Trump's eyes and has been deceived by an elaborate Democrat hoax, which they never actually used for some fucking reason. I guess, because that makes sense. It's demented. He has latched onto this titty hard and is trying to suck all the milk it can possibly get from this narrative that nobody is believing. No real people, that is. He is so desperately on his hands and knees, crawling, groveling, begging people to move on from it, trying to even give it like a title. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax.
Yeah, that part was really bad. I mean, normally he's a pretty good marketer. But this was really bad, where he's like, everyone's calling it that. You should call it that too. It's like, no, I don't think people are calling it that, man. I think you want people to call it that, but I don't think people are gonna call it that, big dog. That's just, yeah, when your goat is washed, that's what this is.
And then again, calling out his supporters, saying that they bought into the bullshit and that they haven't learned their lesson, never will. It's just crazy. Like, he's actually even attacking.
Do you think he genuinely doesn't understand that his base actually cares about this? No. I think, and I've said this a lot, and I will keep repeating this. People used to get more mad at me when I used to say this in the last administration. Trump, in moments that matter, is just a regular ass Republican. He is the logical conclusion of Republican politics. Okay? And for that reason, he already did his job. He already got the fucking tax cuts. So it doesn't matter. Yes, he likes being liked. He likes being loved. He likes being admired. He's a narcissist. But beyond that admiration, he did his job already. He got the agenda. He got the agenda that he set forth. So everything after that is just like bonus points. And obviously, as a regular ass Republican, once he got the tax cuts in, it's over. He's making his money on fucking cryptocurrency schemes. He's farming the government for Trump properties all around the world. He got a nice little fucking jet from Qatar, right? He's doing all that shit. He's also giving like some crumbs to the base as far as like doing mass ICE raids all around the country, things like that. So he's giving some cookies to the white supremacists that really, really want mass deportations to continue to take place. And that's it. I think it's because he won. He already won. So everything else from this point on is just like, I don't think he gives a shit, you know?
His own base now. He says, let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think of talking of our incredible and unprecedented success.
Nitpick, the September 2019 Epstein case was federal and in New York, not Florida. As Florida Attorney General, Bondi would only be involved in state cases. She also left office in January 2019, so she sucks, but she didn't really have anything to do with the Epstein case, first or second. Fuck all these people, obviously. Oh, she was a ASA in Tampa in 2008 also. No, that's not an actually. That's valid. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification, chatter. I'm wrong. I'm wrong for saying Attorney General Pam Bondi had any involvement whatsoever in the initial case. Because the initial case was conducted by Alexander Acosta, who was a prosecutor. And then I recall the local police department also losing some tapes. And you know, and ways in which they had like flubbed the initial investigation and the second investigation as well. Like there's always some like inconsistencies. I thought you were taking a break. No, that's tomorrow. I do think that even as Attorney General, though, the idea that you don't have any involvement with like an active criminal that has operated from Florida is still wrong. Like there are things that they could have done. There are things that she could have done as well. I believe you can like when the Miami Herald article came out, I don't know if Pam Bondi was still the Attorney General, but I'm pretty sure they could have seized. Like they could have moved on Jeffrey Epstein quickly when she was the Attorney General and the information was coming out. Instead of, yeah, she was the Attorney General when the Miami Herald article came out, and there was a lot of conversations about like reopening the Jeffrey Epstein case, and she didn't do that. Like that's the extent of her involvement, rather lack of involvement, where she didn't actually. Hasanabi archive. Making it sound like you're quitting streaming? Jesus Christ, dude. Whatever, who cares? Yeah, she could have brought a state case against Epstein as the Florida Attorney General anytime from 2011 to 2019. No question. That is the extent of her involvement, which is to not do anything from 2011 to 2019. And because like the Southern District of New York opened a case against Jeffrey Epstein, right? Southern District of New York opened the case. And that's where they were. Like, I mean, but in Florida, they could have done so as well, or even before the Southern District of New York. But I guess, you know, it's better that the Southern District of New York open up the Jeffrey Epstein case instead of her anyway, because who knows what kind of trickery would have taken place if Pam Bondi was involved in that.
It's because I don't want their support anymore. You can literally hear him crossing his arms in that statement. Well, I don't want their support anymore anyway. Like a child mad at their parents because they didn't get a cookie after dinner or something. It's so pathetic. I really don't understand how just a normal person could see all of this and still just write it off as no big deal and be supportive of the way he is handling this shit and the administration, the way they're handling it. It's incomprehensible to me. Now, I understand people who are...
What's stopping from destroying the files? I mean... If you want my honest speculation, wee-woo speculation, it's literally sexual blackmail of elites. It, you know, it requires a lot of work. They work really hard for those. They're not just going to fucking cast that aside. They're not going to burn it in a pit. That's literally decades of sexual blackmail, potentially. That is incredibly valuable sexual blackmail. I don't think they're just going to toss it aside. Alex Jones take? I mean, dude, this guy is a fucking convicted pedophile sex trafficker who was directly involved with people that we know were outed by victims who happen to be members of the royal family, famous professors at Harvard who also were on Jeffrey Epstein's legal team and are Trump boosters and Trump defenders, former presidents, former secretaries of state, Hillary Rodham Clinton, Bill Clinton. Like, what are we talking about? You can't just say fucking everything is Alex Jones because something just like smells weird, you know? And we also know from the investigation that took place that there were thousands of hours, terabytes filled, according to Pam Bondi now, it's just child sexual assault, sexual abuse material. But initially, there were names written on those fucking folders, and the motherfucker had cameras everywhere, in every room. Why did he have cameras in every room, in all of his homes, and tapes of people with names written on the fucking folders? As a prolific sex trafficker connected to elites from all around the planet. What do you think is going on there? You think he just has an eye as an amateur filmmaker? You think that's what was going on? Why did he have cameras in the fucking bathrooms, for example? What the fuck? What is that about? Why did people like Ehud Barak, former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, go to his house? Like, what do you think was going on? Yeah, he was a streamer house. How did he make all the money? Why did so many people like Les Wexner basically give him power of attorney? Other disgraced financiers in New York. Why did they keep giving him hundreds of millions of dollars? What do you think was going on? I just don't think we'll ever know the full the full extent of this. But it's crazy when people just go, oh, dude, this is just a conspiracy theory. It's like, no, it's not. I do think it's very suspicious, but powerful people go to rich financiers' house isn't exactly shocking, even without the trafficking stuff. No, the shocking part about it is that these are not just powerful people going to rich financiers' house. These are powerful people that were directly tied to intelligence. Like the former head of the CIA having meetings with this guy is a fucking big deal, especially past the point of like everybody knowing he is a pedophile sex trafficker. Do you see what I'm saying?
Tending to be okay with it because they're getting some doubloons under the table for it, no doubt. But this, like any sensible person would see this and immediately smell the shit. It's just so fucking nuts how blatant this is. And it's, I just can't help but keep talking about it. I can't stop yapping about it. It is unreal.
I don't think there's that many elites involved with stuff like this. Yes, there are. At what point do you stop indulging the conspiracy? But I'm sus because there's not much evidence out there. Okay, but you can't say. How the fuck is everyone a pedo? I never said every single person involved with Jeffrey Epstein is a pedophile. You're just adding shit that I did not say. I'm always very explicit with what I'm talking about, where I say, what level of involvement do these societal elites have with Jeffrey Epstein? What kind of illicit activities they may or may not have engaged in? What are on the fucking, what are on the actual terabytes of data? It's just so strange where people just go, oh, like a big part of what I do is I spend a great deal of time talking about conspiracies and explaining to you what the logical outcome is of conspiracies. Like I do this for every single famous conspiracy theory. I do it for conspiracy theories that aren't even that like big, and I've done so because I combat misinformation. It's a major part of what I do. This is not like the other Alex Jones shit that they talk about, okay? To say that there's not much evidence here is so fucking insane. There is evidence. We just don't know what the evidence is because they won't reveal it. That's the problem. That's the reason why Trump is like, oh, there's no evidence. Oh, don't look away. Look away. There is evidence. The fuck do you mean? It's just redacted. And the reason why it's redacted is because the evidence that ties the people named in both the Ghislaine Maxwell case and the Jeffrey Epstein case in the trials were incredibly wealthy and incredibly powerful people. That's the reason why we don't know. So you can't say there isn't evidence. There is, of course, evidence. There's a tremendous amount of evidence. What are you talking about?
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure. Deanna.
Thank you so much.
Come on, dude. Come on, dude. No, we don't know. We don't know the special prosecutor. No special prosecutor. Come on. Like, there are known victims and known perpetrators. There have been numerous settlements throughout the years. What are we talking about? Like, there are numerous known victims and numerous outed perpetrators. What are we talking about? And a shit ton of settlements that have come out of this. JP Morgan is involved. They had, what you think, like a major bank like JP Morgan is gonna fucking give a $290 million settlement to Jeffrey Epstein victims for no fucking reason? Like, you think that was just for fun? That was just like what do you think? How do you, and this is just stuff that we do know. And everything that gets tied together is obviously in the investigations that were conducted that this administration said they would release information on and refused to do so. Is that not suspicious to you at all? Do you feel like this is just a conspiracy? Or conspiracy theory, sorry, not a conspiracy, because it is a conspiracy to do criminal things. I guess that there's nothing to see here. This is just for fun. JP Morgan and Chase love giving money to people. Famously, that's a thing banks like doing. A U.S. judge on Thursday approved JP Morgan and Chase's $290 million settlement with women who said Jeffrey Epstein abused them and that the largest U.S. bank turned a blind eye to the late financier's sex trafficking. U.S. District Judge Jed Rakoff called the deal a really excellent settlement that he said could prevent future sex trafficking by alerting banks on the consequences of facilitating transactions linked to it. This case sent a message through this very substantial settlement that banking institutions have responsibilities that perhaps were not fully recognized in the past. The deal followed embarrassing disclosures that JP Morgan ignored internal warnings and overlooked red flags about Epstein because he had been a valuable client. Epstein was a JP Morgan client from 1998 to 2013. The bank kept him on even after he was arrested in 2006 on prostitution charges and pleaded guilty 2 years later. JP Morgan did not admit wrongdoing in agreeing to settle. This was a fair and just outcome for the nearly 200 survivors who bravely came forward, JP Morgan spokesperson said after the hearing. What is this? Industrial scale abuse enterprise, far larger than previously believed. Jeffrey Epstein had 1,000 plus victims. This is from Ken Leakenstein. 20 years after Jeffrey Epstein was exposed for his child sex abuse enterprise, the Justice Department this week made a startling revelation. Rather than the dozens of victims previously alleged by the government and media, Justice now says there were over 1,000 victims. Everyone is talking about Epstein again, and from MAGA types furious that the Trump administration is not producing a supposed client list of the mainstream media, which is giddily mocking just about anyone critical of the Justice Department here as conspiracy theorists. One person who doesn't want to talk about it is Donald Trump, who told New York Magazine in 2002 that his buddy Epstein was a fun guy who likes beautiful women as much as I do, many of them on the younger side. Seldom one to shy away from blurting out whatever when asked this week about the Epstein memo, Trump uncharacteristically changed the subject. He admonished the reporter, telling him the question was a desecration to the lives lost in the Texas floods. Trump, of course, hung out with Epstein and feasted on his legendary get-togethers in New York and West Palm Beach, so he probably isn't keen on there being too much transparency there. Oh, my fucking shoulder. But before this becomes a conspiracy theory itself, I note that former President Bill Clinton was also a frequent flyer, especially on the Lolita Express, which took prominent guests to Epstein's private island. Those guests include financiers, billionaires, lawyers, and even a British prince. The names of hundreds, and now indeed possibly thousands of Johns involved in Jeffrey Epstein's clients have never been revealed by the government. Pam Bondi's Justice Department evidently doesn't have the stomach or the inclination to delve much deeper into the matter. The new figure of over 1,000 victims appears in a Trump administration's review of FBI holdings concerning Epstein, a summary of which was released in the form of a 2-page memo earlier this week. 2019 Jeffrey Epstein indictment says dozens of victims. Jeffrey Epstein review in 2025 says over 1,000 victims. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties, the undated and unsigned memo says. Justice says it reviewed more than 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence, including over 10,000 downloaded videos and images of illegal child sex abuse material. There is no client list, Justice says in his memo. This, despite Bondi herself implying in February that such a list was on her desk. She now says she was referring to the files more generally. There are so many and unanswered questions raised by the release, which also says that there is no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as a part of his actions. That means that the theories alleging Epstein was operating some kind of operation to collect incriminating information for a foreign government, most notably the Israelis, has also been dismissed by the U.S. government. That part is the reason why I think Trump is saying what he's saying now. I think he got a fucking boss call where they were like, dude, shut the fuck up. We can't take additional reputational damage. I think Jeffrey Epstein's involvement with these rich and powerful people go beyond just sex trafficking. I know a lot of people think that he was just doing blackmail and sex trafficking of minors for like Bill Gates and all these other people. But I think the real reason why they won't release it is because of the actual financial entanglements that he had with so many wealthy people, from Bill Ackman to Bill Gates to Bill Clinton. A lot of bills, weirdly enough. I just named 3. Both of them are prominent figures on either side of the political party or, the bipartisan billionaire Bill Gates. That's it. I think it goes beyond just a Mossad or CIA-backed sex trafficking operation. And I think the financial entanglements and Jeffrey Epstein being like the connective tissue between a lot of elites and a lot of billionaires and a lot of powerful people in the intelligence community is the real heart of the story. This isn't to say that there weren't like super wealthy people that may or may not have engaged in these illicit acts, whether they were adults that were sex trafficked or minors that were sex trafficked. Both is a likelihood. This is a major part of the story, and that is the most easily identifiable part of the story. That's the easiest to investigate. Paper trails, like financial connections. Do you understand? How did Jeffrey Epstein launder the money? What kind of money laundering network did he have? Why were these people involved with him? That is what I'm looking for when I say we need to see more evidence. That is the redacted side. The forensic accounting that most likely took place, well, to a limited degree, that they refused to talk about. Okay? Memo says that because of this exhaustive search, there's no need for justice or the FBI to disclose anything further. This is a reversal of Trump's promise to his voters that he would take a look at the Epstein case as president. When the Justice Department indicted Epstein in 2019, it repeatedly referred to dozens of minor girls that had been abused. Federal prosecutors reportedly identified 36 underage victims in Florida in line with the dozens described in the original federal indictment. Consistent with prior disclosures, the Justice Department memo said this week, this review confirmed that Epstein harmed over 1,000 victims. There was no such prior disclosure that Epstein's victims were so numerous. So yeah, are the financial entanglements related to blackmail? That's another great question.
Do you know what the president's reaction was to Mike Johnson saying that he wants additional files released, the Epstein files? Was there a conversation with Mike Johnson about that following his comments?
I won't discuss the president's private conversations with the Speaker of the House, but as I answered to Jackie's question earlier, the president has said if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice and the FBI have any more credible evidence in regards to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, they should put that forward. He has called on them to do that.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. Can you confirm that? And has he asked?
What is this? Governor News and Press Office. Congrats, Stephen Miller. Oh, God, I don't care about this shit. Come on. Let's hear from one of the most credible people on this issue, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, or Speaker Emerita.
Too well. The power of conspiracy theories. Your husband was attacked by a man who'd fallen for them. Is it your sense there's anything the president can do now to get his supporters to move off of the Epstein issue? Should he? Where do you land on this?
You know, again, this is a distraction. This is a distraction. We have major issues right here with things we're voting on today in the Congress. Again, in terms of the rescission that the president and the Senate have sent back over us to cut all of these resources out of helping poor people throughout the world, to be America play its leadership role in soft power to keep us safe and to keep us healthy, so that we viruses know no boundary. And instead,
she's like, nothing to see here. Stop talking about it.
About this thing, and his own base has its own views of what the president should do. I'll leave it up to them to talk it out. But again, whether it's Jeffrey Epstein or Alcatraz, it's all off the subject of what they're doing with this budget that is harmful to the kitchen table, meeting the kitchen table needs of the American people.
I want to make sure I understand what you mean when you say distraction. Do you think that Pam Bondi going to Alcatraz is meant potentially as a distraction from Epstein, which has not gone over well at all with the president's base?
No, I think they're both distractions. I think they're both. I don't think she's going to Alcatraz. I think she's planned to do that. But I think that they're both off the subject of what is happening, changing the character and the culture of America by undermining, by placing huge trillions of dollars of national debt on the for future generations to carry forward at the expense of the health, nutrition, education of the American people.
Just stop talking about it, please, guys. Please stop talking about it. You know, nothing to see here. It's not a big deal.
Are urging a special counsel be appointed to look into the Epstein matter.
It's just crazy that this is like the only. I noticed that the only involvement that the Democrats wanted to have on this story was basically to laugh at Trump and to say, haha, you built an audience that likes conspiracy, and now that audience is coming after you for this fake conspiracy. There are, of course, other Democrats like Ro Khanna, who is taking a different approach here, who is actually saying, like, no, we should see the client list. We should see the evidence that's, readily available. Redact the victims, redact the obvious, horrible material. But there is, like, definitely, like, the Democrats are talking about the Epstein stuff, but not from the perspective that I talk about the Epstein stuff, where they're basically just trying to say, that this is what you see is what you get. This is your chickens coming home to roost moment. You trafficked in conspiracies. Jeffrey Epstein is a conspiracy theory. And now, your audience is yelling at you. How can the Democrats realistically sell this, given that they didn't try to get the Epstein files released over the last 4 years? I feel like that's the first question any voter would have. True, but it doesn't matter. I don't disagree with you. I know the answer to that question. It's the same reason why Trump is not releasing this information, right? Because both Democrats and Republicans are involved. They should just say, hey, this is a new Democratic Party. We're fighters now. We don't care about the past involvement of past old, decrepit administrations. I mean, that's like my fantasy. My fantasy is this is a real labor-backed, actual fighting Democratic Party. That obviously is not going to happen. But at the very least, they can say they didn't campaign on it. It wasn't an issue that was noteworthy at the time. I don't fucking know. I'm not in the business of doing messaging for establishment Democrats.
The president, when asked about that, said yesterday he has nothing to do with it.
Scott, meanwhile, there's a high-profile firing inside the Justice Department. Another one. What do you know about that?
Yeah, the prosecutor is Maureen Comey, who's been fired. That name sounds familiar. She's the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, and she handled, in part, the Sean Diddy Combs case and the Jeffrey Epstein case. The Department of Justice would not comment on why Comey was fired. We do know that she was fired under the presidential authority, which means it was done under the president's name, and the president has had some run-ins with James Comey after firing.
Do you think this story is losing steam? No. Even if the media doesn't cover it, the independent media will never stop talking about this because they never stopped talking about this. They didn't stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein when Biden was president. They didn't stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein when in the beginning of Trump's presidency. It's not a thing that, like, it will lose a little bit of its steam, and perhaps mainstream media will stop talking about it. But I don't think it's going to go away. I think people will always remember, and whenever there's like any sort of mention from Trump or anybody else or anything that involves the case, it will come back over and over again.
Firing him in 2017, Tony.
Run-ins, to say the least. Scott
As I said, this is the one thing that unironically separates Trump from his base.
The idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure.
Clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to...
I'm surprised he's actually present for the video. What do you mean? You talking about me? You have a pedophile Nazi on your fucking profile picture. I think you got bigger worries than like a Twitch streamer moving away from the camera to take a piss for 25 seconds. That's kind of sad, big dog. Like an actual out and about, straight up pedophile Nazi. That's crazy.
The fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency.
Okay, but you're here. You're in charge now. That's why people voted for you. Not me, but there are plenty of people in your base that voted for you specifically because of the transparency that you said you would provide. And the real reason why it's an issue now is because you're refusing to provide that transparency, which is precisely the reason why people are asking these questions. Doors open.
In regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president.
She's like, hey, remember when the Democrats didn't offer transparency? It's like, okay, but right now, people have an issue with you not offering transparency. Like, you're in charge. What's up with that? Also, another question here, obviously, is, well, he did die under Trump's watch. What the fuck was that about? He was investigated and prosecuted under Trump's watch. He died in a federal prison under Trump's watch. Trump has said some weird things about both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. A big part of there's so many different parts of this that, this conspiracy that Trump is involved with, and it's all strange.
Who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all.
Why is everyone being so disrespectful to Ghislaine Maxwell? Her boyfriend died or maybe was killed. Nobody knows. Why is everyone being so disrespectful to her? I wish her well. Like, that's crazy. That is a crazy thing to say. That's not just like a political gaffe, okay? You are straight up humanizing a sex trafficker and her associate that participated in the sex trafficking, like criminally convicted, okay? When Trump is not exactly known for humanizing people, even who are his allies. Like, that's not like Trump at all.
Files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions. And they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people. But he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he secured $90 billion in investments for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state. After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get the Genius Act signed into law. And because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday, he meets with a foreign leader, the King of Bahrain, to secure more investments into this country. And then yesterday afternoon, the president is in the East Room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of fentanyl, signing a bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this country.
Dude, this is like, they are Democrats, dude. They're behaving like the Democratic Party right now. Come on, look at all the victories. Look at all of Biden's victories. Why are you talking about inflation? Shut the fuck up about inflation. It's not real. It's a hoax. He did NATO. And not a single one of you is talking about how he accomplished AUKUS. It's so fucking funny. It is amazing watching them behave exactly in the exact same ways that the Democrats have behaved. They're losing control. They're losing control over the narrative. And this is what they're good at normally. This is what they do. Now the old tricks are not working. Ironically enough, part of the reason why the old tricks are not working is because they thought they could cynically use the Epstein thing like one of those tricks. They thought they could just like briefly allude to Jeffrey Epstein and then people would just like forget about it. And then no one would demand answers, you know? No one would ever want more. Today I went with Ono Hawaiian barbecue as opposed to the regular Middle Eastern I go with, for chatters who are wondering what I'm eating. Oh shit. But it's spilling. There's a little bit of spillage. I'm going to, monkey's paw curled. I'm going to weigh it now. How does Middle Eastern cuisine differ? What do you mean? I get Mediterranean chicken normally, but today I went Asian with it. Teriyaki chicken, right?
That event live and covered that event like they should. Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children. Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
I understand he wants to move on from this story, but you do have some prominent figures, including the Senate Majority Leader, the House Speaker, voicing support for the files to come out. Representative Massey collecting signatures that would force a discharge petition for a vote on the floor for this. It doesn't seem to be going away. What is stopping the administration from just redacting any sensitive information, grand jury information, and putting out what is appropriate so that the American people can decide and then let this story die?
Well, in terms of redactions or grand jury seals, those are questions for the Department of Justice. Those are also questions for the judges who have that information under a seal, and that would have to be requested, and a judge would have to approve it. That's out of the president's control. He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has said that, and he agrees with them on that.
Why did you fire Maureen Comey?
The Department of Justice did, and I would defer you to them.
She's 27, Omega Law. It's the craziest piece of information about Caroline Leavitt.
As pressure builds on the Trump administration to release the Jeffrey Epstein files, President Trump lashing out at members of his own party.
They're stupid people. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats and some stupid Republicans.
Last week, a memo from the DOJ and FBI concluded that a so-called client list did not...
Yeah, she's 27, and I think her husband is like 60 or something. She is a great example of how much evil ages you. I swear to God. She's 27 years old. She's married to like a 60-year-old dude, and she looks like she's 40. Also, Laura Loomer is another example of like what evil does to the body, the mind, the soul.
Exist and confirm Epstein died by suicide in 2019. Trump yesterday defending the leaders of the agencies behind that memo, FBI Director Kash Patel and Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Do you still have confidence in that team, sir? Total.
Asked about the possibility of appointing a special counsel to investigate the Epstein case, Trump saying this.
I have nothing to do with it.
Some Democrats argue the president who engaged socially with Epstein in the 90s and early 2000s is acting suspiciously. One congressman telling Vanity Fair, it seems like he's trying to cover up for something or somebody. At the same time, Republicans argue there must be more transparency.
I think that this government holds on to so many secrets that are unnecessary, and I think that the public wants answers on this. I mean, this was a campaign issue.
House Speaker Mike Johnson insisting he's on the same page as Trump.
I mean, there are, whistleblowers and minors' names involved. You got to be careful not to release that.
Johnson also saying Americans deserve more information.
We're for transparency. You need to have all of the credit.
There are minors involved thing is so crazy because no one wants the name of the victims, even adults. People don't want the names of the fucking victims at all. People don't want to see the victims. This has nothing to do with the victims. It is such a stupid way to fucking argue this position where they're like, oh, it's weird. It's like you just want to see this creepy stuff. Oh, you're creepy and gross. It's like, no, dude. No, we want justice. Fucking Christ. No one even believes that. Like, I don't even think anybody actually goes around. Like, I don't know a single person that's been convinced by this beyond people who are trying to use it cynically as a point to why the Republicans keep blocking the fucking revelations.
Information.
Overnight, former Vice President Mike Pence calling for the files to be released.
I know of no reason why this administration, once the victims' names are protected, should not release all the files on Jeffrey Epstein.
And now one of the most influential voices in the MAGA movement saying the public should know more.
It's been 10 days since you've leaked this thing on the holiday weekend, and you still have not done a straight-to-camera, straight-to-the-sticks press conference. Here's what we looked for. Here's what actually existed. Here's why we reached the conclusion that we did.
And new polling shows a majority of Americans are not happy with the government's handling of the Epstein files. Just 17% of people approving. 2/3 of those polled say they think the government is covering up evidence.
Let's bring in NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez, NBC's Julie Sirkin on Capitol Hill, and former federal prosecutor and Politico magazine senior writer Ankush Khajuri. So, Gabe, the president now lashing out at his own supporters, and yet this backlash is only growing. Trump ally Laura Loomer even warning that this issue could consume his presidency. Where's the White House thinking on this morning?
Well, Anna, it is very interesting. This is what you'd expect from the president. Whenever he feels backed into a corner, he really lashes out against who is attacking him. In this case, however, he's punching back at his own supporters. That's what really makes this so unusual. But if you talk to the White House,
like, the whole point is you do the Jeffrey Epstein style stuff, and I'll say, like, I'll put like trans issues in that same bracket, right? Obviously, Jeffrey Epstein's a real ongoing problem, as opposed to trans issues being like a simple distraction that the administration uses. But that's like supposed to be a part of the things that you do give the people, so that they don't pay attention to you fucking them over by cutting their Medicaid, right? In the process of offering tax cuts to the super wealthy. So when you don't give them the treats, the treats that they are demanding, they're going to be like, what the fuck is this? This is the thing. This is the only thing I care about. It's like, there's almost a nihilistic attitude that is presented by a lot of people in the base, where they're like, we know that you're not going to do anything, but we thought you would at least like expose some pedophiles and like fuck up the system a little bit. And all you've done is fuck up the system in the wrong direction, in the same way that like any other Republican would. You stopped 0 wars and you won't even give us the Epstein shit. What the fuck?
they feel they've done all they can here. They're still backing the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. The president publicly is still sticking up for her. And they say that she's done all she could, that the DOJ put out that statement. The president has been asked about this repeatedly and says that Bondi briefed him very quickly, but that there's no that he's encouraging her to release any credible information here. And so that right now is the open question at this point. Will Bondi release anything more than she already has? But as far as we know, the president is still sticking by his attorney general, and the president himself is now lashing out at his supporters, trying to reframe this whole controversy.
Julie, we have seen Republicans on the Hill break with the president on this, and now that the president's ire is growing, are they backing down?
Sort of. I mean, some in his core MAGA base up here, especially in the House, I would say very different than Senate Republicans on this. They want to see this come out. They are questioning Pam Bondi. Some even called for a special counsel to take over. Lauren Boebert, for example, suggested it should be former Congressman Matt Gaetz, who is up for Attorney General, but that never went through. And so this is just an issue that has been brewing within the MAGA circles for years. I remember I even covered President Trump in his final days before his campaign this year, and he was talking about it, as were his allies, his conservative allies that he was bringing up on stage. Speaker Johnson, however, softening his tone earlier this week, suggesting this is a bigger issue, perhaps breaking for the first time that I've seen with the president so publicly, and then yesterday suggesting his words were taken out of context. Take a listen to this.
It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it.
I have been misquoted and misrepresented on all of that. Go watch the interview I did with Benny Johnson. I was very clear. I mean, we're for transparency. I'm saying the same thing.
Outside of stanchions.
Except they're not really saying the same things the president is. Sure, the president said Bondi could release some of these files, but here's the thing. Democrats are also keeping this issue completely front and center for Republicans. For example, yesterday I scooped a resolution in the Senate by Ruben Gallego that he's trying to push, essentially a messaging vote, but all of these designed to put Republicans in a hard spot and reaffirm their desire to either get these documents out there or keep them hidden on them.
It looks like there's some bipartisan legislation being pushed, or a resolution in the House, with Republican Thomas Massie signing on to Democrat Ro Khanna's resolution to try to force a vote on releasing the files as soon as next week. What's the likelihood of that happening, Julie?
And this is what I mean about the differences between Republicans in the Senate and the House. Yeah, Thomas Massie, a Republican.
What if Trump only releases the names of Democrats? First of all, he won't, because again, I'm going to go back to this one more time. Mutually assured pedophilia destruction. That's number one. Number two, he won't, because I don't even think his base would fucking agree to it. They'd be like, what do you mean? Oh, so you just held this back for no reason for weeks and said it was a fucking hoax when it was just the Democrats that were a part of the pedophilic elite? No shot. I think cat's out of the fucking bag. It's mutually assured pedophilic destruction, because if, like, what would stop people from being like, oh yeah, you think I'm only the person involved? Well, Trump is involved too. Dems have a copy of the list? Yeah, it's roll call.
who has drawn the ire of the president basically all year long for a number of issues, teaming up with Ro Khanna, as you mentioned, to try and force a vote on the floor to essentially force the DOJ to release these documents, to get them all out there. The only issue is that resolution in the House will take 7 days before Massey and Khanna can even call around and start collecting signatures. They need 218, a majority, to be able to force Johnson's hand in getting this moving on the floor. And that's another tell here. If Johnson really wanted to force the DOJ to do this, he could by putting this on the floor himself. Clearly he doesn't, and trusts the president to do the right thing here when it comes to the Epstein case. But for Khanna and Massey's resolution, still a while to go on that.
Gabe, there's also the fact that the president's going back on his own promises to his supporters during the 2024 campaign that he would release the files. Take a look.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
Yes, I would.
We need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
How is it that my father can be convicted of 34 crimes, but no one on Epstein's list has even been brought to light?
The president, his vice president, his own son, all on the 2024 campaign trail making something out of the Epstein files. Now he wants to disavow supporters who care about the Epstein files. Gabe,
like the media is taking, like the liberal side of the media is taking like a weird approach to it, where some people are basically using this as an attempt to like make fun of Donald Trump, to be like, see, this is what you get because it's like obviously fucking, it's obviously the Epstein stuff is obviously a conspiracy, and you trafficked in QAnon too much, and here what you see is what you get. You know, I don't like that because I don't think it's just a conspiracy at all.
No more investigations into Epstein. No special prosecutor.
Yeah, CoffeeZilla's been fucking pumping the Epstein vids. Look at this. He wants to bury the Epstein files. 1.7 million views. Raw Epstein footage was modified. 1.4 million views. The worst cover-up of my lifetime. 2.9 million views. The story keeps changing. 1.9 million views. He does a daily drop every day of the Epstein stuff, and it goes crazy. Which, under different circumstances, I would criticize other content creators for farming this, but I wouldn't say that about CoffeeZilla, because CoffeeZilla has been at the forefront of covering the criminal enterprise of the Trump administration, at least from his immediate place of knowledge. Like when it comes to cryptocurrency schemes and stuff, he has never stopped covering that shit. He is actually, it's been kind of funny watching him just like lose his mind at like how very openly illegal and criminal the Trump administration is, and yet no one seemingly cares. So I don't think he's like a bandwagoner on this issue. He has not shied away from doing actually like real journalism on the Trump stuff. For other slop tubers though, they obviously have either shied away from saying anything mean about Donald Trump because they know what their audience wants, and this is their like break off point because they recognize that the you know, it's time to jump ship, and they're fucking little rats that realize that the Titanic is sinking, or they're still trying to do a shitty job of like defending Trump even. Do you think you and Coffee might ever talk? I do talk to him. Just not on camera. I have.
Prosecutor Trump is tripling, quadrupling down on the idea that it's all a big hoax, despite a lot of his party campaigning on this.
It was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net, and so they try and do the Democrats' work.
That's right. If you care about accountability for a trafficking ring, you're doing the work of the Democrats, apparently, and Trump doesn't want your support. This is another post from Truth Social where Trump says that it's a scam we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, despite him being one of the people heavily trafficking in this, and saying my past supporters have bought into this hook, line, and sinker. Clearly saying, if you care about the release of the Epstein files, you're not a real supporter of Trump anymore. You're a past supporter. Saying about his own supporters, let these weaklings continue because I don't want their support anymore. This obviously felt like a huge betrayal to a lot of the people who have supported Trump and expected him to come through on this promise. The last thing most of them were holding on to was the idea of a special prosecutor who could go into the Epstein case and try to get some transparency. In fact, it was reported that Donald Trump was okay with appointing a special prosecutor. This was according to John Solomon, who claimed this in an interview.
Any prompting, without me even asking yet, he says, I also think if that has a special prosecutor, that prosecutor should just look at anything credible about Jeffrey Epstein, and let's get this resolved. Let's get the American people the most transparency. Now, what does that mean? If there's a special prosecutor, this gets out of Pam Bondi's hands, it goes to an independent person. They look at it, they release what they can about it, and they tell the American people whatever the grand jury can squeeze out of it.
Now, this had many people saying, oh, this is great news. This will bring accountability, transparency. Here's Benny Johnson talking.
Bro, the other side of this, by the way, is that I don't even think they can fucking do that. Because if, like, there was a special prosecutor who would obviously be deeply connected to Donald Trump, and he came out and he did this like wishy-washy bullshit, maybe like offered a little bit additional information, people would be like, okay, you didn't give us anything, fuck you. So like there's that side of the story as well. Even if you do actually get a special prosecutor involved and you, you know, put together a report that reveals at least like whatever is not damaging to some of our billionaire elites, I don't think it would work.
About it.
There's been a dramatic change in approach. Very powerful people inside the administration are pushing for a special counsel, full press briefings on Epstein findings, and so on. And this is because of our voices that cannot be ignored.
Right. Voices that cannot be ignored, except they were just today by Caroline Leavitt, who says Trump is not in favor of a special prosecutor at all. It's not going to happen.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case.
Bro, it's pretty funny that there is no messaging discipline on this side, too. Normally, the Republican communication strategy is airtight. Trump says something, you hear it being rehashed a million times over from from Fox News all the way down to like a 57-person subscriber YouTube page. You know, in this issue, Trump says something and everyone on the independent sphere that actually has to be accountable to their audiences immediately panic. And because they panic in this situation, because they're panicins, they start over-promising. Where they're like, oh, there'll be a special investigator, a special prosecutor, I promise. And then Trump's like, nope, no special prosecutor at all. No investigation. It's done. It's a hoax. And if you care about it, you're stupid. And then they're like, oh, he didn't mean that. He didn't mean that you're stupid. He meant that, like, you're actually brilliant. I promise. He's like, no, I meant you're stupid. And then he'll even call up people who, again, are at least like a little bit more accountable or have to be more accountable to their audiences because they're, you know, approachable. Because they're online content creators. They're not fucking Fox News commentators. And call them up and be like, shut the fuck up about Jeffrey Epstein.
Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure.
Wow. That's how he feels. He feels like, we don't need more transparency. We don't need more accountability. We need to hush this up, okay? Trump has also responded when asked that he has nothing to do with a special investigation.
President Trump, would you consider appointing a special counsel to investigate the Jeffrey Epstein investigation?
I have nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it, guys. We've already done the investigation, and you should be pleased with what we put out. This was also said by Trump himself, the idea that we've already given you everything credible.
She says, I gave you all the credible information. And if she finds any more credible information, she'll give that too. What more can she do than that?
Right. She's given us all the credible information. If she finds more, she will give us more. But we already got it. If you remember, Pam Bondi already gave us the phase 1, which just included a lot of already released information. At the time, they called this the first phase, which sheds light on Epstein's extensive network. An extensive network that now includes 2 people, Epstein.
Yeah, Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, that's it. No one else. Please stop. That's the other side of this, like, where they literally, the phase 1 implies that there's supposed to be more phases. You don't just go, this is the phase 1 of the revelation, and then be like, there is no phase 2. Phase 2 is actually, fuck you, you're stupid. And also, we knew all along that it was the Democrats that wrote the list, and it was fake anyway. So we actually delivered a fake list that the Democrats wrote on our phase 1 transparency documents. I hope they, I hope they drop the whole story eventually. I hope that no one drops this story, especially because this stuff is tied back to, in my opinion, a lot of the fucking illicit things that intelligence agencies have done, whether it be the Mossad or the CIA. And I do want shady billionaires and former heads of state and former intelligence, former heads of intelligence to be held accountable. So no. Oh, you meant drop the whole story eventually, as in like, oh, drop the files, like actually release the files. Got it. I misunderstood. Well, I didn't misunderstand. You wrote that in the worst possible way. Like, you made it seem like they're dropping an album. New Trump prank dropped. Holy shit, he looks awful. I see nothing wrong with this. Dropping an album is releasing it? No, I know, but I hope they drop this case in this circumstance implies, like, stop talking about it. It's an understandable implication. I don't think I was wrong for assuming that that's what he was saying, but we cleared it up anyway. It doesn't matter. Yeah, release the Epstein cut is the real. Bro, what the fuck, man? He looks like a frog. Why does he look so toad-like? He is. This is the closest he's looked to Jabba the Hutt. Low key. Like, I never thought that human beings could achieve Jabba the Hutt status outside of Sheldon Adelson. And it feels like Trump is finally reaching peak Adelson. For those of you who don't know, Sheldon Adelson is a major, well, he's dead now, but he was a casino magnate and also very Jabba the Hutt looking. His wife also has continued his tradition of giving Trump hundreds of millions of dollars so that Trump will do whatever Israel wants him to do. Pretty openly, too. Like, it's not, he was the biggest booster of the Republican Party. I used to always joke about how, like, these motherfuckers would be like, oh, George Soros. It's like, dude, Sheldon Adelson is the #1 donor to the Republican Party. Anyway, he's dead now. He was very hot, though, when he was alive. Yeah. Rest in piss. But, of course, Miriam lives on.
And Ghislaine Maxwell, really extensive. Kash Patel, by the way, quoted saying there will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, except, of course, all the incredible information, right? You have credible information, you have incredible information that they're gonna hide from us, I guess. With these influencers who had the binder, I guess this is part of the Democrat hoax. Can't understand why they would do that. Now, as a rewind though, what has really the FBI DOJ released that wasn't already public? Well, one of the biggest things was the tape, right? The tape of the prison cell, which actually wasn't the prison cell. It was the common area, which couldn't see Epstein's cell, which definitively proves everything. Except not only did it not show Epstein's cell, not only were there blind spots in the tape, we also had a Wired report showing that it was a modified file. This was something that went into Premiere Pro, was saved multiple times. We don't know what was changed, if anything. But now we have new reporting from Wired saying that Epstein's prison video had nearly 3 minutes cut out, which started at the, quote, missing minute. So I ask again, what credible information has really been released? The only thing that's been released is, ironically, not credible. Not only is this great for people like...
Yeah, this is great transparency, dude. There isn't... Andrew McCabe, former FBI deputy director, says the Epstein files shouldn't be released because there isn't actually any public right to be able to see sensitive FBI files. Oh my God, he's revealing, he's saying it. He's saying it. This is literally the fucking thing that I keep saying. They worked really hard for the fucking sex trafficking blackmail footage. The intelligence community and Epstein worked really. It would be a shame to burn it. Have Eric Weinstein on? Fuck no. Why would I ever do that?
Prince Andrew, who's now traveling around. Guess who else this is great for? Ghislaine Maxwell, who's now appealing her whole conviction on the grounds that the government already gave her a non-prosecution agreement, or more specifically, Epstein a non-prosecution agreement. And we have this statement from Ghislaine Maxwell's family and her counsel of record saying, quote, "I'd be surprised if President Trump knew his lawyers were asking the Supreme Court to let the government break a deal. Judges have previously dismissed her lawyers' arguments that she should have never been prosecuted because of a weird agreement drafted more than 15 years ago. But now, of course, this is at play again, given all the recent revelations and the fact that the family seems pretty directly to be appealing to Trump, which is an interesting turn of events if Maxwell has anything on him or someone else in power. They actually say,
I think what's crazy about the Ghislaine stuff also is that she's talking like she can't get executed. You know what I mean? I don't know where she's getting this confidence that she might not have a mishap in prison. You know what I mean? Like, what leads you to believe that you won't also feel really sad all of a sudden? You know what I mean? Because that's what they packed up the Epstein stuff with that. They packed up the Epstein stuff with he was really, really sad. He was really sad that day. You know? Dead man switch? No, I don't know about that. Oh my God, you think she does? But why wouldn't Epstein have a dead man switch? If she has a fucking dead man switch, then I suspect Epstein would have one too.
Explicitly, he's the ultimate deal maker, and I'm sure he'd agree when the United States gives its word, it should keep it. With all the talk about who's being prosecuted and who isn't, it's especially unfair that Ghislaine Maxwell remains in prison based on a promise that the U.S. government made and broke. This itself raises large concerns, given that Trump not only seems to want the Epstein thing to go away, but also that he's wished Maxwell well many times.
Yeah, this part is fucking nutty. I mean, the whole... I wish her well. This is like one of I'm surprised, like, this is the only place we've seen it. Like, CoffeeZilla is one of the only places outside of myself that is like routinely covering Trump talking about Ghislaine Maxwell like a fucking scorned lover. Like, it is wild the way that Trump talks about Jeffrey fucking Epstein, and not Jeffrey Epstein necessarily, but Ghislaine Maxwell in particular. That's a weird way to talk about the fucking criminal pedophile sex trafficking ring operator, dude.
Maxwell is in prison. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
Can you explain who she is and how she's related to Epstein? Ghislaine Maxwell is the second in command, and actually was at times. At a time, Ghislaine Maxwell was the girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein, and was basically the recruitment person, like the one who was like finding victims and recruiting them, and like recruiter is a weird term to say here because it's like we're talking about sex trafficking, but like she basically was the person who was the madam, the right hand man, the right hand woman of Jeffrey Epstein. But also, incredibly important role that she played here wasn't just that she was the madam who was procuring victims for Jeffrey Epstein. She was the groomer. She also was a facilitator for many of Jeffrey Epstein's initial and continuing relationships, because Ghislaine Maxwell was basically born into this like espionage family with Robert Maxwell, her father, who was a government stooge and initially worked with the OSS and then worked with both Western intelligence, the British intelligence, and also the Mossad. So she's been in this as not only just like a socialite, she's been in this this whole she's been heavily involved in this kind of conspiracy as a socialite, but also was the person that connected Jeffrey Epstein with many of the famous people. And she was able to do this even after Robert Maxwell was disgraced, because Robert Maxwell, for those of you who don't know, was the owner of the National Enquirer, and he fucked over his entire newspaper, like all of the workers in his newspaper. I think it was like, which movie depicted this? Was it Wolf of Wall Street or was it Tetris? Anyway, Robert Maxwell was a Czechoslovak-born British media proprietor, politician, and fraudster of Jewish descent. He escaped Nazi occupation in his native country and joined the Czechoslovak army. In exile during World War II, he was decorated after active service in the British Army. Okay. Having said that, however, in the aftermath, it was in the movie Tetris. It was in the Tetris movie. So in the aftermath of that, the murky life and death of Robert Maxwell and how it shaped his daughter Ghislaine, So he died under suspicious circumstances in his yacht, Lady Ghislaine. He named his yacht Lady Ghislaine. And he was I mean, it was known that he was a Mossad operator himself. And he was the owner of this newspaper conglomerate. He was like a media mogul, basically. And as a media mogul, he fucked over the entirety of his newspaper, the Daily Mirror, I believe, not National Enquirer. Was it which one was it? What was the newspaper? Yeah, former editor of one of Maxwell's newspapers, Daily Mirror. I guess it was the Daily Mirror. British National, apart from Mirror Group newspapers, the New York Daily News, and not National Enquirer, I said that wrong, is the New York Daily News, Mirror Group newspapers. His many businesses included Oxford United, Derby County football clubs. He rose from impoverishment as a Czechoslovakian refugee to become a decorated war hero, a businessman, a Labour MP, and then a media mogul, amassing private jets, helicopters, and Rolls Royces en route. He died on the 5th of November, 1991, and his death shocked the country. He died under mysterious circumstances, but shock turned to anger within weeks when a £450 million hole was discovered in the pension funds of his companies. A borrower of unimaginable scale, he had illegally raided the funds to prop up his empire, which was on the brink of collapse. Headlines such as "The Man Who Saved the Mirror" were swiftly replaced by "Maxwell, the Robber." For those of you who are wondering why people say Robert Maxwell was heavily involved with the Israeli state, there were numerous heads of Mossad at his funeral. He is buried in Jerusalem, and there were numerous heads of Mossad at his funeral. It's because in 1948, when the Nakba was being committed, okay, the catastrophe, the Zionist brigades, before the inception of the Israeli nation state, needed weapons transfers. And Robert Maxwell, with his deep, extensive contacts within the USSR, was able to go against... Okay, so, for those of you who don't know, year is like 1946, 1947, okay? Israel as a state is not in existence yet. There are Zionist brigades, Irgun, Lehi, Haganah are some of the more prominent ones, okay? These brigades are heavily armed, even though there is a blockade of weapons and weapons transfers to these Zionist brigades in what is known as historic mandate, British Mandate Palestine, okay? These guys are literal terrorist groups at this point. Some of them actually called themselves terror cells like Stern Gang, okay? But they need weapons. They obviously have some weapons that they procured from the British state, because the British state is like basically fucking pulling out at this point, okay? But there's a blockade of weapons transfers to British Mandate Palestine, specifically these Zionist groups. The USSR, with Robert Maxwell's help, crafts a way to get around the illegal, the blockade of weapons transfers, and ships weapons by way of Czechoslovakia to the Zionist brigades. With the extensive connections that he had with Czechoslovakia and the USSR, Robert Maxwell was basically one of the initial gun runners, as is suspected, was one of the initial gun runners for the Zionist brigades. And yes, the USSR was an early defender, an early booster of the state of Israel. For those of you who don't know, they, of course, changed their attitude, but that was one of the roles that Robert Maxwell played. There's a theory that Ghislaine was the Mossad asset given her father's history, and Epstein was more just a pedo enjoyer who loved the attention and influence, the useful pedo, if you will. Yeah, Robert Maxwell was essentially given a state funeral in Israel, for your information. Yes, he was given a state funeral. Yeah, Israel gives Maxwell farewell fit for hero. Yeah. Yeah, Maxwell also outed Mordechai Vanunu, the Israeli nuke whistleblower, and was instrumental in him getting abducted via Mossad, via honey trap in Italy. Obviously, Mordechai Vanunu is still in Israeli prison. He has a fucking Twitter account that's like one of the saddest accounts I've ever seen, where I think it just like literally will periodically tweet that he is still not released. I don't know if I don't know what his latest situation is, but yeah, Mordechai Vanunu is also known as John Crossman, is an Israeli former nuclear technician and peace activist who, citing his opposition to weapons of mass destruction, revealed details of Israel's nuclear program to the British press in 1986. He was subsequently lured from England to Italy by the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad, where he was drugged and abducted. He was secretly transported to Israel and ultimately convicted in a trial that was held behind closed doors. Vanunu spent 18 years in prison, including more than 11 in solitary confinement, though no such restriction is mentioned in Israel's penal code nor imposed by his verdict. Released from prison in 2004, he was further subject to a broad array of restrictions on his speech and his movement and arrested several times for violations of his parole terms, giving interviews to foreign journalists and attempting to leave Israel. He claims to have suffered from cruel and barbaric treatment in the hands of prison authorities and suggests that things would have been different if he had not converted to Christianity. In 2007, Vanunu was sentenced to 6 months in prison for violating the terms of his parole. He is a whistleblower. I think he's still in prison. Is he not? Has he been released from prison? In May 2010, Vanunu was arrested again and sentenced to 3 months in jail and charged that he had met foreigners in violation of the conditions of his 2004 release in prison. Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure he's still kept under close watch by the Israeli state. It might be house arrest now. Yeah. But yeah, this is this extraction, this illegal arrest and kidnapping of Mordechai Vanunu for the crime of whistleblowing about Israel's nuclear program that they fucking stole. Okay. It was conducted by Robert Maxwell. Robert Maxwell played a role in this. So yeah. That is Ghislaine Maxwell's father. So Ghislaine Maxwell, despite the fact that the Maxwell name was tarnished and disgraced, still was in and out of these elite society circles with ease. She was born into it, and she like very clearly still had a deep embedded connection to a lot of these people, and also played a formative role in Jeffrey Epstein, connecting Jeffrey Epstein to other elites, societal elites. So remember that when talking about like the connections, the potential connections to intelligence.
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. She's now in jail. Uh-huh. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty.
So pretty clearly
and that's the person, Ghislaine Maxwell, that Donald Trump is talking this way about.
The president seems to be extending his sympathies to Maxwell in very bizarre terms when asked, hey, do you think this person's going to turn in rich and powerful people? Well, we wish her well. So that worries me when then the Maxwell family and her lawyer are pretty explicitly appealing to the president, who wished her well, saying, hey, this whole thing should be barred because of Epstein's former agreement with the prosecutors. Speaking of prosecutors, by the way, Maureen Comey was just fired by the DOJ, with many speculating this is an order that comes from the top, from Trump. Now, Maureen was the prosecutor in the Diddy, Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell cases, with some people saying the timing is too coincidental with the whole Epstein investigation and Maureen Comey maybe knowing something about it. The other way to look at this is, of course, that Trump has hated James Comey, her father, for a very long time. James Comey, of course, doesn't seem to like Trump too much. He recently published a photo of Seychelles saying 8647, referring to the 47th president of the United States. So it could be the case this is a revenge firing. It could be over the handling of the Diddy trial. Or, again, it could be over the Epstein-Maxwell cases. But on the whole, what we all want is just more accountability, more transparency. We want these people to release the full files. So on that, I'm going to explore a couple leads that maybe will pan out. There's been a push by the House to have the Epstein files released. This has now become a bipartisan supported thing. Previously, it was voted against, but now they're trying to force a vote. I've kind of stated that I'm not sure that this is going to get somewhere. I hope it does, though, just to be clear. I hope they release it. I think it's been covered up for so long. I guess I'm so cynical about it. But I guess in the words of Trump, I wish them well. We wish the House well in trying to release it. I will say for the millionth time, this is not a left or right.
She is horrendous at her job. Just all pedos get away. This is nepotism at its best. What are you talking about? The Diddy one was like fucked up, but they did successfully prosecute Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. So I don't know about her being horrendous at her job. Like you could say, given the deep ties that Epstein and Ghislaine have to the intelligence community, her job required her to do this cover up Certainly. Hassan is on the list. Once again, people love to play fast and loose with this kind of thing, even though I've obviously been a firm and committed, an active person who has for years and years talked about the Jeffrey Epstein situation. But given my age, I would be on the list as a victim. So, you know.
Issue. This is the people versus the else. There's also this report from the New York Times about the $1.5 billion they're trying to chase down. This was handled by JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank. These both paid fines for their involvement in moving money for Jeffrey Epstein. Here, the legislators are trying to actually chase down some of the funds. Notably, the New York Times reports that there was a huge suspicious activity report, also called a SAR, reviewed by the congressional team that was filed in late.
Hassan, why do you preach free speech but ban people so easily in chat? Easy question, easy answer. Freedom of speech is for the government. Like, you know, when the government tries to arrest someone, prosecute someone for just their speech, like they did with Mahmoud Khalil, or even falsely detaining people at Customs and Border Patrol for being a political dissident like myself, that is actually a violation of the First Amendment. If you come into this chat, many Twitch streamers have very different restrictions on how they want to conduct their chats. I'm a very transparent person, so I will reveal this information to you once again. For us, because there are a lot of hate raids that happen and a lot of bots that come in and write like insane shit, we simply have a follow restriction. All you need to do under normal circumstances is follow for 10 minutes. And you can write whatever the fuck you want in the chat. Of course, if you stir shit up and come in here to falsely smear me or take advantage of my charitability and try to redirect the attention to yourself, you might get banned. Now we've upped the ante. It's no longer 10 minutes because we get hate rated quite a bit. So now it's 1 day. You have to be following for 1 day or subscribe. If you subscribe, you can obviously get through that 1 day restriction. Having said that, however, many other content creators in this space don't really even look at their chat for understandable reasons. I like to look at my chat and have a back and forth conversation, even though there are 40,000 people in here. And I do that when there are 300,000 or 400,000 people in here. It doesn't fucking matter, right? I have had 300,000 people in here, and I've had this same exact back and forth with chatters. And the reason for that is because I value the back and forth that I can have with people, even if some people try to take advantage of that dynamic. But in order to foster good communication and ensure that there's an audience that's coming in that is charitable, that is invested in learning about new things, or maybe even approaching a subject matter from an angle that they never had considered before, I have to sometimes, get the shit stirrers out of here. It's that simple. That's it. Shit stirrers like yourself, for the record. People that come in and go, why do you not love free speech? Of course, this doesn't stop you from being able to watch the stream. You can still continue to watch the stream. You just won't be able to, and you'll even still be able to see the chat because the chat is on screen. You just simply won't be able to write in the chat. That's it.
2019 by JP Morgan for $1.1 billion. The report covered 4,700 transactions dating back to 2003, including payment.
Hassan Piker's an emotional masochist. That's why he reached out so much. No, I don't. I mean, there's a little bit of that for sure, but that's not the primary reason. I read chat because I want to foster good back and forth conversations. There are a million different opinions at any given point throughout the day that I can encounter. This is the perfect way to address people's questions, because I know for a fact that for every person that asks a question, there are probably 10,000 people that might not know the answer to that question and might actually learn something from the way that I answer that question. That's why I try to not have any sort of safeguards beyond the obvious ones like hate speech and narcissistic derailers.
to women from Belarus, Russia, Turkmenistan. Many of Epstein's victims included young women from Eastern European countries. So I will say, as many people have, follow the money is a great idea in a case like this, where Jeffrey Epstein had a bunch of mysterious wealth. Unfortunately, I have to say it's an uphill battle when the most powerful person in America, Donald Trump, seems dead set on closing these files and trying to get it to all go away. And I also encourage people to be suspicious of when a president says something is a hoax.
Oliver Darcy rips the Band-Aid off of what everyone's been quietly talking about. The Wall Street Journal is working on a story about President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. I'm told that at least one DOJ reporter is on the story and that they reached out to the White House around 48 hours ago. The Wall Street Journal relies on documentation. Oh, God. I can't take a fucking day off. Dude! That is fucking annoying. Open Presence, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Oh my God. Bombshell reporting coming from Wall Street Journal that goes into detail with the ties that the Trump administration has, with Trump himself has with Jeffrey Epstein, coming out soon. Open Presence. Aisha Esquire, thank you for the gifted subs. Open Presence with 100 gifted subs. An Oiler in the chat. Open Presence, thank you. The Piker Broadcasting Service, as always, is sponsored by you, the viewers. There are no ad breaks on the Piker Broadcasting Service. The real PBS, the real public broadcasting service, is the Piker Broadcasting Service, only sponsored by you, the chatters, by gifters like you, for viewers like you. Thank you. Hopefully it releases on Monday, this shit.
Folks, despite the fact he said for years there are powerful people implicated in these files, even saying that he was going to be transparent, there was going to be a wave of accountability, only now they're covering it all up. They want you to trust them, and if you don't, you're stupid and or a weakling.
Yeah, here is, I tweeted about this already. I quote tweeted about this. I said, you don't understand, the intelligence community and Epstein worked really hard to get all that blackmail footage. You'll be ashamed to burn it. Here is Andrew McCabe, former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, saying the public has no right to know this FBI investigation's details.
There isn't actually any public right to be able to see into sensitive FBI files, right? You can file a FOIA request, but there are something like 9 different exceptions to FOIA. And some of them are, sensitive material, investigative material needed in a prosecution, things like that. So this is uncommon for people to be screaming for information from an investigative file.
Oh, dude, it's uncommon. Yeah, okay, my bad. I thought we had a right to know. Sorry. Well, if the former FBI deputy director says the people have no right to want to know what's in there, well, I guess then we should shut the fuck up, dude. My bad.
Question is why? Why the about face?
Well, Anna, look, latching on to the Epstein files, at one point it served him politically. Now that it doesn't, he is much less likely and much less willing to stick with it. Now, if you listen to that interview where the president was asked about the Epstein files back during the 2024 campaign, he almost was reluctantly saying it wanted to be released. If you continue that answer, he did say you had to be careful with what you release because it could it could destroy people's lives. That certainly something that he might feel strongly about regarding the Steele dossier years prior. But while the president didn't latch onto it as much as he's latched onto other conspiracy theories, as you just played, some of his allies, J.D. Vance, even his own son, and plenty of others did latch onto it, and now he can't seem to get away from it. What the administration would rather be talking about is that they're trying to sell their so-called one big beautiful bill. Vice President J.D. Vance in Pennsylvania yesterday trying to do that, and instead, here we are talking about the Epstein saga.
They can't seem to escape it. Gabe, stay close. Julie, thanks for your reporting. And Kush, you recently wrote in Politico that there may be 3 possibilities here of what's going on with the Justice Department on these Epstein files. 1, an actual cover-up. 2, Trump officials really believed the conspiracies until they got into government. Or 3, they never believed them and were simply misleading voters. Based on the fallout over the past few days, is there one of those theories you're leaning to? What new information are you looking for?
You know, I'm keeping a very open mind at this point. I have to be honest, because the way in which the administration has pushed back on this, and Trump has pushed back on it in particular, has been very striking to me. I want to refer to what Gabe mentioned a moment ago, where Trump said, well, you know, on the campaign trail,
unfortunate frame with the light behind you, big dog. That's crazy. You look like an alien. That is crazy. No head shape is supposed to look like that.
Got to be worried about whether there are documents or references to people that would hurt third parties. The comment that he gave recently that you also mentioned, where he said, "Oh, we'll release credible information." These are qualifiers he does not provide in other contexts. And, you know, when he was at this cabinet meeting last week saying, "Oh, this is a conspiracy theory. Why are you guys harping on all this?" I mean, Trump has his own conspiracy theories he's come up with, and Trump is famous for never moving on from anything. He is still talking about the Mueller investigation. So I think you look at all these things, and I have to say they raise some serious questions in my mind about whether they happen to find something that they weren't expecting to find in that material, because the very hyper defensive pushback here is frankly unlike anything I've seen from him.
It's definitely remarkable, that 180. I keep trying to understand why he's going after his own supporters on this. There's this other new development, Ankush. I'm wondering what you make out of it. The DOJ firing federal prosecutor Maureen Comey, apparently with little or no explanation. She's James Comey's daughter, former FBI director. She also played a role in the prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell. What do you make of the timing of this firing amid this debate over the Epstein files inside Trump's orbit?
The timing is very curious, and I understand why people are asking questions. I mean, look, on the one hand, this administration, the White House and Trump in particular, viscerally dislikes James Comey and has been looking for ways to make his life more difficult, including by initiating a criminal investigation recently. So on the one hand, you could just see this as personal vindictiveness. On the other hand, the timing of it is raising questions among people about whether or not this may be some further effort.
Yeah,
President
we know
Trump
why this happened now. Okay, he hates James Comey, he hates the daughter for sure, but also you know, she was a person. She was the person who was involved with the Epstein and Ghislaine investigations. Like, what do you mean?
I should look into the Epstein case, but not necessarily because of Epstein's actions, but because he says it's a scam pushed by.
It's also funny because, like, it's funny because, like, it is so haphazard. Like, the way that the Trump administration, I said this yesterday, like, every day they do a new thing. Do you like large breasts? I like all breasts, large and small, breasts of all sizes. Anyway, that's a crazy question. But see, chatters, people ask me all kinds of different questions, and I answer all kinds of different questions in the chat. But as I was saying yesterday, like, every day the Trump administration tries to haphazardly and in the silliest ways possible move the conversation away, move the attention away from the Epstein stuff. And they do it in such a shitty way that it literally invites further scrutiny, and it's more and more suspicious. Every step that they've taken on the Epstein issue so far makes them look more suspicious.
Democrats.
But they ought to look into.
Stop dodging the big questions. Why aren't you as strong as Dr. Abdul Al-Sayed? Interestingly enough, I will be having Dr. Abdul Al-Sayed on the broadcast on Monday.
To the Jeffrey Epstein hoax too, because that's another hoax that's frankly put out by the pushing the Republicans and put out by the Democrats.
Just to be specific on timing, Epstein was investigated and arrested during Trump's first term. Now, Trump and Epstein, of course, were once friends. Trump's talked about that in the same circles decades ago. This photograph goes all the way back to 1997 in Mar-a-Lago, so it's a long time ago. And Trump hasn't been accused of any wrongdoing in the Epstein case. Out front now is Jack O'Donnell, the former president and chief operating officer of the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino. Jack, just as all this conversation comes up, we've talked to you many times over the years, you and I, but you worked with Trump in an important period, 1987 to 1990. And I know that's, we talk about a lot of this friendship going back that long. You heard the name Jeffrey Epstein a lot during the time you worked with Trump. Can you tell us about their friendship?
Oh, sure, Aaron. First off, it's laughable that it wasn't a good friendship, if not his best friend during those days. I mean, he frequently came down to Atlantic City, the two of them, to attend special events. I heard reference in several conversations, and in one conversation where I had to specifically talk to him about Epstein and his presence in the casino. So it was in my mind, it was his best friend, from really the time I was there for 4 years. His name was, not constant, but it came up quite a bit.
Why doesn't anybody talk about the Michael Wolff interviews? Because he's a bit of a fabulist. He is a bit of an embellisher. And when you're branded as that, I think people just don't take you seriously. The other reason why is because in the lead up to the election, like, the Democrats were so invested in having Hillary Clinton and not Hillary Clinton, sorry, Bill Clinton on the campaign trail that they just couldn't also really hit on the Epstein-Trump connection for some weird reason. Not a weird reason. It's the same fucking reason why Trump won't actually leak the Epstein files. Did you do today's Wordle? No.
And you're saying they would, from what you would call, come down to the casino together. I mean, Trump has called Epstein a terrific guy, a lot of fun to be with. Now, that was a New York Magazine interview all the way back in 2002, predating any of these, any knowledge of Epstein's nefarious actions. More recently, Trump has downplayed his relationship with Epstein. Back in 2019, he said this, and this is right after Jack Epstein was taken into custody.
I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him. I mean, people in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan of his.
That's not true. He was.
That doesn't really fit with what you're saying.
No, Aaron, it doesn't. And, one incident that I think kind of, proves their closeness and how much they hung out together. One time, on Monday morning, I came in and the commission was waiting. The inspectors were waiting at my office. And Donald and Jeffrey had come into the casino in the wee hours of Sunday morning, 1:30 in the morning. Two buddies. They had three women with them, and the commission was waiting for me because they had determined that the women that they brought down were underage to be on the casino. And when I asked them how they knew that, by the way. One of them was the number 3 ranked tennis player in the world, okay? And this guy happened to be a tennis fan. And he said, Jack, I know she's 19 years old.
Oh, underage is in not minors, but under 21.
And to get on a helicopter with a friend and 3 other people and fly down to Atlantic City, I mean, you can connect those dots. They were pretty
at 1:30 in the morning. And just to be clear, the story, when you say underage for the casino would be 21, right? So not necessarily legally underage girls, right? Not in that case.
No, not in the sense of a minor, so to speak, that's been described with Epstein. They were underage to be in the casino, and they knew for fact that one of them was 19 years old. Nobody carded them, by the way, because either the commission staff or my staff, because they were intimidated to do so. And that's why the commission was actually going to fine me for Donald's discretion. Now, one of the things that they made me do is they made me call him. And I had to, believe it or not, read him the riot act about this action because they gave him a break. Back in those days, and I think even today, the fines are substantial. They can even suspend your license for letting minors in the casino. And I had to call them and say, look, they're giving you a break this time. But if this happens again, the fine is going to be substantial and it's going to be on your head. And oh, by the way, it's not going to look good. You and this guy Epstein coming down here with these young women.
What did he say?
Oh, well, he was shocked that they let him off the hook, first off. He was flabbergasted. He said, I can't believe they're they're not throwing the book at me. Nobody gives me a break. And that really was his reaction. And I did tell him in that conversation, I don't think you should be hanging out with this guy, just so you know, and you certainly shouldn't be doing that in Atlantic City.
All right, Jack O'Donnell, thank you very much. And for all of this and sharing your recollections here. I appreciate it. It's always good to talk to you. So now you hear what Jack had to say. I want to go to the veteran investigative journalist Barry Levine, who is the former executive editor of the National Enquirer. He was in that role for 17 years. The author of The Spider, Inside the Criminal Web of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, where he led an exhaustive investigation into Epstein. So, Barry, you hear what Jack had to say. the Jeffrey Epstein case better than almost anyone. So when you take a step back and you look at all this firestorm right now that is out there, what key information is still being withheld from the public?
Well, Aaron, certainly, I first want to say that calling this thing a hoax is such an insult to Jeffrey Epstein's victims. As the Justice Department told us, there's about 1,000 victims who had been abused. And for this to be called a hoax is just horrible. Say that to the woman who swam from his island to escape. Say that to the families of 3 of his victims who...
No, 1,000 is like the State Department memo that came out, the FBI memo that came out on it, saying that there were more than, at first the initial reporting, the initial investigations was 36 minors that were victims, and now it's thousands of victims, 1,000 victims, over 1,000.
Who have passed on, one from suicide, 2 from accidental overdoses.
So, yeah, that's the ones that we know of, by the way.
So, you know, I'm absolutely appalled at as how Trump is handling this situation. But there is still so much that we can learn from these files. And I think that, as the speaker said, let's see transparency here, because not only can we learn more about men who are in his circle, who are in his web, as I wrote in my book, who were involved in this, but we can also learn the financial connections of how the money was distributed to him. I mean, it took millions of dollars for him to maintain this operation over 2 decades. And we need to see exactly how the FBI treated this, who they investigated, were there financial crimes here of individuals.
Yeah. It's beyond like the stuff that people pay the most attention to, which is the sex trafficking. Understandable that people would pay the most attention to that because it's the most heinous of the crimes. But I suspect a big part of the reason why none of the intelligence agencies want any of this information to be revealed is because of the financial ties that Jeffrey Epstein has directly back to a lot of the elite.
Individuals that need to be looked at.
So just a few moments ago, Barry, before you and I were speaking, just before the show came to air, the federal prosecutor for Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, Maureen Comey, all right, that's her name. Does the name sound familiar? It should, because she happens to be the daughter of the former FBI Director James Comey. Okay, so she was just fired, all right? She was just fired. She is James Comey's daughter. She was the one looking at this case. Let's just take politics out of it, because I know there'll be politics all over this one, right? It'll be flies over a carcass. But you're very familiar with her work. What do you make of her firing?
You know, it is another situation here in this week of absolutely horrible things that have come out of Trump in terms of this firing that's taken place. She was such an advocate for the victims of sexual abuse. She took part in the successful prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell. She was on the team for the Jeffrey Epstein prosecution in 2019. Just an excellent part of that team in New York and the Southern District. And for this to go down, the circumstances, they're too similar as to what he said about her father. And then you have this result. So it looks to me like it is just she was knocked down because of her dad, and it's sad.
Wyden, here's what it says. Treasury's Epstein file details 4,725 wire transfers. Let me repeat that. 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Jeffrey Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that is more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. Hundreds of millions more flowed through other accounts. $1.1 billion of wire transfers, dude.
725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion.
Do you understand what my interest is in the Jeffrey Epstein stuff? That's just one of his bank accounts, man. Do you understand why this is not normal? Because, like, one might say, oh, dude, what do you mean? You do wire transfers. Everyone does wire transfers. Fair. That's true. And 4,000 wire transfers is not that unique in and of itself. But the very fact that we don't know how he made his money to this day, and he had $1 billion going back and forth, $1 billion going back and fucking forth through just one of his accounts. He was just a financier, bro. No, he wasn't. He was a fucking math teacher at the Dalton School. He was not he was not a fucking financier. Come on, man. Only $500 million each way. Isn't that crazy though? When you have $1 billion with a B in finances going back and forth, you're automatically in like the top, what? The top, how many billionaires exist on the planet right now? How many billionaires are there in the world? Not interested in AI mode. Over 3,000. Okay, there are 3,000 billionaires that we know of on the planet. That's 3,000 billionaires. Okay, 3,000 of them. And even back then, there was even less, far less than 3,000 back then. Okay, we're talking about a guy who was going back and forth with billions. He is not a fucking oligarch in Russia. He's not Vladimir Putin. He's not an oil baron in Saudi Arabia. He's not a sheikh. If you are a billionaire in the United States of America, your finances are out there. It's usually done not only through wire transfers, but it's done through your net worth. The very fact that like your valuation was in the B, okay, on the billionaire side, your overall net worth was on the billionaire side, and you were doing wire transfers to the tune of $1 billion, that's not normal. That is not a normal amount. If that's a business account, it's definitely not that crazy. Brother, Jeffrey Epstein is not a corporation. He is one guy in... What are you talking about? No, that is not normal at all. He definitely had an LLC. I'm going to lose my mind. Anyone can have an LLC, dumbass. It's about what he was doing. Do you know what Jeffrey Epstein was doing? What was his job? What was Jeffrey Epstein's job? What required him to have 4,000 plus wire transfers on one fucking account, on his business account? Let's say it's his business account. Okay. What was the job? Oh, a fixer. Got it. Okay. Come on, man. Be for fucking real. What was the goods and services that the LLC of Jeffrey Epstein, what was the goods and services that he provided? That the answer to that question, unironically, is part of what people want to know. The reason why I asked you that question is because if you had the answer to that question that no one else has, seemingly, you'd be a unique person. Okay? That's the point. That is literally what Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon, the Oregonian senator, is unironically talking about in the fucking floor of the Senate right now. And the chatter's like, nah, dog, that's normal. Like, this dude is straight up being like, this is abnormal. We don't even know how he made any of his money. Perhaps we should shine some light on this. That's 4,000 different like wire transfers that we could potentially investigate to uncover how Jeffrey Epstein made his money. What were the illicit dealings? Was he money laundering? All this stuff. And this fucking chatter's like, nah, dude, I'm different. I knew everything. Why ask an expert when you can ask a chatter? No, there is no expert. There can only be expert opinion on this. Ron Wyden, who has worked on the Epstein case for 3 years, says that the government is sitting on a secret bank file showing more than 1.5 billion in suspicious wire transfers by Epstein, involving some of the most powerful people in the world. In particular, filings by 4 big banks flagged more than $1.5 billion in transactions, including thousands of wire transfers for the purchase and sale of artwork for rich friends, fees paid to Mr. Epstein by wealthy individuals for what services and goods rendered, we do not know, and payments to numerous women, the senator's office found. The filings came after Mr. Epstein was arrested in 2019 on federal sex trafficking charges. You have a fucking sitting senator on the floor of the Senate being like, this is suspicious. We need to shed more light on this. Where is the discovery? We need to investigate all of these wire transfers. And you got a fucking 26-month chatter in here being like, nah, dude. That shit ain't weird at all. Don't look into it, dummy.
Dollars flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, That is more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. Hundreds of millions more flowed through other accounts. That's even a lot more to investigate. The file shows that Mr. Epstein used multiple Russian banks, which are now under sanctions, to process payments related to sex trafficking.
Yeah, he had a LLC, bro. He was a money guy. He was a money guy. He was just a fucking crazy money guy. He was the best money guy of all time. Okay? Best money guy. Anyway, we will find out more about Trump's direct involvement with Jeffrey Epstein as soon as Wall Street Journal apparently is looking for a bombshell investigation. Is working on a bombshell story about Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. I'm told that at least one DOJ reporter is on the story and that they reached out to the White House around 48 hours ago. The Wall Street Journal report, I'm told, relies on documentation. On Thursday, anticipation rippled through political and media circles as insiders awaited a potentially explosive Wall Street Journal story examining Donald Trump's ties to the late Jeffrey Epstein. The article, said to be in the works for days, had still not appeared as of Thursday afternoon, raising eyebrows and fueling speculation across Washington and New York. According to people familiar with the matter, the Journal is facing pressure from the White House over the story. In fact, Trump is said to have personally called Emma Tucker, the Journal's editor-in-chief, to voice his objections. The specifics of the call remain unclear, but it's hard to imagine Trump voiced anything but outrage. It's unclear whether Trump reached out to Rupert Murdoch, whose news corporation owns the Journal. While the specifics of what the Journal intends to report remain under wraps, oh my God, he's trying to fucking nuke it. He's trying to stop the story from running. He's trying to kill the story. Oh, dude, I'm salivating. Holy fuck. While the specifics of what the Journal intend to report remain under wraps, the story is said to contain new material shedding light on the Trump-Epstein relationship. The apparent standoff over the story arrives at a politically delicate moment. Trump has been under growing pressure from MAGA media and his base to release the files related to Epstein. The fact that this came out as like media reporting on a potential story that's supposed to come out implies that these guys, at least the journalists that are involved in the story, definitely want it out, regardless of what the boss calls may look like. If this drops while I'm away, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I swear to God, dude. Oh, I might have to do an emergency stream. Luckily, I'm bringing my desktop setup to the bachelor party. Trump has been under growing pressure from MAGA media and his base to release the files related to the Epstein. Figures like Tucker Carlson and Laura Loomer have expressed outrage and accused Trump's administration of stonewalling the release of the so-called Epstein files, igniting a rare public rift between Trump and segments of his own MAGA base. The Journal's reporting, if it runs, could further complicate that dynamic, especially if it probes Trump's own proximity to Epstein, whom he once described as a terrific guy before later distancing himself from the convicted sex offender. The two men shared some social circles in the 1990s and have been photographed together. For the Journal, the delayed publication underscores the high wire tension of reporting on Trump in the current media landscape, particularly while inside Murdoch's conservative media empire. Under Tucker, who took the reins from Matt Murray in 2023, the paper has sought to publish hard-hitting political stories. For now, the status of the Epstein-Trump story remains unclear, though it is quickly becoming a part of the story itself. Okay? Listen, could you imagine a world where the Democratic Party basically resembled, I don't know, my attitude, right? Like a Democratic Party that was on the ball with this Epstein stuff. A Democratic Party that was like routinely talking about how the Trump administration, by way of Doge and all these like cuts that they're engaging in, are like mass firing a bunch of fucking public workers, that they're incredibly fucking corrupt, and that this is yet another clear-cut example of like austerity. Could you imagine a Democratic Party that actually channeled the frustration that many Americans feel in this moment? That Democratic Party would not be sitting at a 23% approval rating. Okay, let me tell you, that is the unfortunate reality, is that the people that are supposed to represent the resistance against Donald Trump's fuckery do not represent a real resistance at all. They don't. It's incredibly frustrating. Diddycrats. Yep. True. Here's political journalist Mark Halperin talking about this new story.
So let me share something with you that everyone, I say that in air quotes, everyone I know knows, hasn't been publicly reported. Everyone I know believes a major newspaper, one of the top 3 newspapers in the country, is about to publish a piece about President Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay?
He's referring to the Wall Street Journal's reporting.
Everyone I know knows that. And people in the White House know that too. When that story drops, if it drops today, and some people think it might, it could drive the day. Sean Dan, have you heard about this story?
Who's the middle guy? That's former Trump Press Secretary Sean Spicer.
Well, I know because it's been circulating on the left, and I've had to double check that this is not in fact, total conspiracy theories. Donald Trump knew Jeffrey Epstein pretty well, and I believe that his early courting of Melania involved Jeffrey Epstein.
What? I didn't know that. I mean, I know that they were involved, but wait, what? Is Melania one of Epstein's, like, I didn't know. Wait, the first time they had sex was the Lolita Express? Wait, really? No. He introduced them. I thought you knew. No, I did not know that. What? That I didn't know this was a known fact. I thought it was a fucking real one, dude. I thought I knew this shit. This is the Daily Beast article. Explosive tapes recorded by author Michael Wolff show Epstein claiming Trump liked to fuck his friends' wives and first slept with Melania on the Lolita Express. No, that's from the Daily Beast article covering what's his face is reporting Michael Wolff, I think, right? Or I keep saying that I keep getting the it's not Michael Wolff. Is it Bob Woodward? It's been a rumor for years that Melania was one of Epstein's girls. You yourself mentioned that they had sex the first time on the Lolita Express. No, yeah, it's Wolff. Yeah, Michael Wolff is the one who claimed this, and I didn't treat it with like as much. I guess it just like escaped my brain because I didn't think about it as like a sincere new piece of information.
And that has been reported by mainstream outlets over the last 10 years. Alleged, I guess. I want to be careful.
You've already been, I say with respect, somewhat careless, but keep going.
Yeah, but I think that, if that is where this report is going, it's just collecting and putting together and synthesizing old news.
This story has new news. Sean, what do you know about this story?
Vague, I probably know about Dan level,
Right.
but I don't.
Let me throw out some questions. Let me throw out some questions, and I'd like you to jump in. Let's do it game show style. Either answer them or say, in fact, we don't know. Ready? How did Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein meet?
I don't know.
Don't know. Did Donald Trump ever go to Jeffrey Epstein's townhouse?
Yes.
How many times?
Jesus Christ. Wait, which townhouse? I mean, we know that in the early 90s, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were involved with one another. We know that. There's footage of it. It's in Mar-a-Lago. There's two parts to the story. There's the first part that like has more, requires more investigation, which is like the pre-Epstein arrest, like circa 2006, where Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were closely associated with one another all throughout the 90s until the early 2000s. That part is known. That's out there. That's out in the open. Okay? I'm going to look this up. Hold on. When did Melania meet Donald? Okay, so Melania Trump met Donald Trump in 1998 at a New York Fashion Week party. They began dating shortly after. If that's the case, and it says Zampoli introduced her to Donald Trump here, Paula Zampoli hired her and sponsored her immigration to the United States in 1996. She works as a model in Manhattan, where Zampoli introduced her to Donald Trump in 1998. So listen. This makes sense as to, in the timeline, Donald Trump is still friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and we know that Jeffrey Epstein is heavily connected to the modeling world and uses, at the very least, Jean-Luc Brunel, who also died under mysterious circumstances in a French prison recently, a couple years ago, had numerous modeling agencies that he was using to sex traffic victims for Jeffrey Epstein, right? So at this point, the timeline does match up if Donald Trump actually met Melania while he was still friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and therefore Jeffrey Epstein could have played a role in connecting Melania Trump and Donald Trump. So that makes sense. Paolo Zampoli is an Italian-born New York City-based businessman. He is the only child of a Milanese family. He founded the ID Models in New York City. He wanted to form a partnership with the Trump organization as a director of international development. He is now, oh wait, on December 2020, Mr. Zampolli was announced as an appointee, a member of the board of trustees of the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts by President Trump. Oh my God. When are they going to release the fucking Epstein file? The Wall Street Journal thing, major scoop. Trump is reportedly terrified of an upcoming, oh fuck, I hate that this is like, hey, what the fuck? Cancel your trip? No. Oh, cancel your trip? Yeah, let me just cancel my brother's bachelor party that I put together. If you cancel the trip, the story won't break. This is true. I have to also go on the trip so the story breaks, okay? Otherwise, wait, hold on 1 second.
Damn, this guy's good.